It was quiet in the Star Palace. Jian Wushuang was alone in his courtyard, cultivating, and no one came to disturb him. He could feel at ease comprehending the destruction principles and studying swordsmanship at the same time. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, 600 years had passed. In a secret pavilion in the Star Palace, several high-level experts of the Star Palace gathered together and were sorting out some information about the universe battlefield during this period. Everyone, take a look at this information. Axe 1 Master waved his hand, and immediately, a piece of information appeared in everyone's line of sight. The content of the information was that an advanced universe true treasure armor had appeared on Blood Rock Mountain battlefield, which had caused a lot of competition, and this advanced universe true treasure armor had been obtained by Gold Master in the end. Gold Master? Isn't this old guy adventuring in Quicksand Demon Realm? When did he go to Blood Rock Mountain? Star Saint Master said. He probably went there in the near future. My Star Palace hasn't heard anything about him, but I'm sure he's lucky. He got an advanced universe true treasure armor not long after he arrived. A red-clothed girl said with a smile. This red-clothed girl was one of the higher-ups of Star Palace, 7 Emotions Master. One to be able to become a higher-up of Star Palace. This red-clothed girl was also a Principles Master who had reached the 6th level of the Void Realm. Tisk, tisk, said Marquis Duanyu. This Golden Crow Master's combat power is already extremely powerful, and he's already considered quite strong among the Principles Masters of the 6th level of the Void Realm. Now that he has obtained an advanced universe true treasure armor, his combat power will definitely be stronger than before. In the future, he'll be even more difficult to provoke. Who cares? 7 Emotions Master said. Anyway, there's no enmity between Golden Crow Master and my Star Palace. Whether he's strong or not has nothing to do with us. In the future, we just need to pay a little attention to him. There's no need to pay too much attention to him. Compared to Golden Master, I'm more concerned about that God Fey Master who appeared in Devil Smoke Valley recently. God Fey Master? Hearing this name, the expressions of the people present immediately became solemn. This God Fey Master is indeed worthy of being taken seriously. After all, ever since he appeared in Devil Smoke Valley, he has been killing experts in a frenzy. Furthermore, his killing spree is extremely frenzied. Regardless of who the other party is, regardless of what background the other party has, which faction he comes from, or even whether he is weak, as long as he meets him, he will not hesitate to kill him with all his might. Most importantly, he is terrifyingly strong. From the strength he displayed previously, he should have already reached the peak of the 6th level of the Void. Such a powerful madman would be a huge headache for any power. X1 Master said. Indeed, I don't know where this God Fey Master came from. Before this, he didn't have any fame at all. Now that he has appeared, he is slaughtering maniacally. Furthermore, his survival abilities are extremely strong. Previously, he angered an expert at the pinnacle of the 6th level of the Void, but in the end, he easily escaped from the hands of that expert. This proves that to kill him, at the very least, a ruler-level expert would have to act personally. But how many ruler-level experts do we have in this territory? If we don't reach a certain level, why would we lower our status to deal with a Principles Master? Marquis Duanyu asked. A ruler-level expert was high and mighty, something a Principles Master could not compare to. However, because a ruler-level expert was too aloof, they would not lower their status to deal with a Principles Master personally unless the other party really offended them too harshly. However, in ordinary small fights, for example, the current God Fey Master wantonly massacred in Devil Smoke Valley. However, he massacred experts from all sorts of factions and was not a single faction, so he did not cause too much of a loss to any faction. A ruler-level expert would not personally appear. According to my estimations, this God Fey Master shouldn't be an expert from our territory. He might be from another territory. When he heard that we have 3 great battlefields here, he specially rushed over. We've already encountered quite a few madmen like him who have no background and are incomparably powerful. All of them are extremely difficult to deal with. The best way to deal with such madmen is to stay at a respectful distance. Send a message to all the experts under my star palace who are adventuring in Devil Smoke Valley to be extremely careful of this god Fey Master. The moment they see him, they will immediately flee for their lives. Although this god Fey Master is powerful and his life-saving abilities are exceptional, his methods of pursuing and killing others aren't necessarily that brilliant. As long as we don't let him get too close, the principal's masters within our star palace will have a very high chance of escaping, Axe 1 Master said. That's all we can do. Everyone present nodded. And at this moment, oh, Axe 1 Master's expression suddenly changed. Axe 1, what's wrong? Marquis Duan Yu looked over. It's my little friend, the Heavenly Marquis. He just sent me a message saying that he's going to Devil Smoke Valley to explore, Axe 1 Master said. My little friend, the Heavenly Sword Marquis? 7 Emotions Master's expression changed. The little friend you're talking about, could it be the immortal saint called Heavenly Sword Marquis Sword that you brought from the divine beginning realm? It's him. Axe 1 Master nodded. This little fellow, has he gone mad? He is an immortal saint, but he actually said that he wants to go to Devil Smoke Valley? 7 Emotions Master said in surprise. That might not be the case. Marquis Duan Yu smiled. 7 Emotions Master, you might not know this, but although Heavenly Sword Marquis is only an immortal saint, his combat strength has long surpassed that of an ordinary principal's master. Back then, in the Great War of the Nine-Tailed Clan in the Divine Beginning Realm, I personally saw him kill a principal's master of the 4th level of the Void Realm by himself. Therefore, in terms of combat strength, he is at least at the peak of the 4th level of the Void Realm and is at the 5th level of the Void Realm. In addition, his talent is extremely shocking. After cultivating in my star palace for 600 years, his strength must have improved. Now that he says he wants to explore Devil Smoke Valley, he must have a certain degree of confidence. An immortal saint killed a principal's master of the 4th level of the Void? Is this true? 7 Emotions Master was in disbelief. This is absolutely true. Axe 1 Master, Star Saint Master, and I saw it with our own eyes. Marquis Duan Yu said. It is true. Axe 1 Master and Star Saint Master nodded. Even if it is true, he is still an immortal saint. It would be too ostentatious for him to venture into Devil Smoke Valley, 7 Emotions Master said. That's why he's sending me a message now. He wants me to think of something, such as finding him a supreme treasure that can hide his godly power aura. Axe 1 Master smiled. There's an obvious difference between the principal's master and the immortal saint. It's nothing more than his godly power aura. As long as there's a treasure that can hide his godly power aura, naturally no one will know that he's the immortal saint. There are a few treasures in Star Palace that can hide the divine power aura of a cultivator. If you want, just pick one for him, Marquis Duan Yu said with a smile. Based on his strength and some of his previous achievements in the divine beginning realm, as long as he doesn't seek death or accidentally enter some dangerous places in Devil Smoke Valley, there shouldn't be too much danger. Well, I think so too, Axe 1 Master said with a smile. They knew clearly that Jian Wushuang could not even deal with a master of the Saint Realm in the divine beginning realm. His life-saving ability was probably much stronger than the one they were talking about, Master Fei. In the Devil Smoke Valley, as long as he did not enter those dangerous places, only a master-level expert would be able to kill him. However, how could an ordinary master-level expert have the time to deal with a little guy like him? Marquis Duan Yu, Axe 1 Master, and Star Saint Master all agreed that Jian Wushuang should go to Devil Smoke Valley. Only 7 Emotions Master, who did not know Jian Wushuang very well, rolled his eyes but did not say anything. In that case, you guys continue to chat. I'll go and see this Heavenly Sword Marquis in person. Axe 1 Master laughed and disappeared into the secret pavilion. Star Palace, in the courtyard where Jian Wushuang lived. Heavenly Sword Marquis. Axe 1 Master rushed over from afar. Axe 1 Master, please come in person. Jian Wushuang greeted him with a smile. You're too kind. I know you're going to Devil Smoke Valley, so I don't dare to delay. Axe 1 Master also smiled. My friend, since you've decided to go to Devil Smoke Valley, you should know where it is, right? Yes, It's one of the 3 battlefields in this territory. It's filled with endless dangers and opportunities, Jian Wushuang said. Haha. It's good that you know. Devil Smoke Valley is the 2nd most dangerous of the 3 battlefields, especially the core area of Devil Smoke Valley. Even a ruler-level expert has to travel carefully. Although your life-saving ability is not weak, you still have to be careful if you go there, Axe One Master said. I understand. Jian Wushuang nodded. Jian Wushuang had known for a long time that there were 3 universe battlefields in the territory of the Divine Beginning Realm, namely Bloodstone Mountain, Devil Smoke Valley, and Quicksand Demon Realm. These 3 battlefields had existed in this territory for God knows how long. No one knew how these 3 battlefields came about, but everyone in this territory knew that there were a lot of opportunities in these 3 battlefields. Because of this, experts from all the world stars in this territory like to explore the 3 battlefields, including many ruler-level experts. For example, in the Divine Beginning Realm, the universe battlefields mentioned by the Principal's Masters referred to these 3 places. Since Jian Wushuang had already left the Divine Beginning Realm, he would naturally explore the 3 universe battlefields. Especially in the past 600 years, his strength had improved greatly, which had given him a certain amount of capital. In the Devil Smoke Valley of the 3 universe battlefields, the reason why Jian Wushuang chose to explore this place first was that there was a star map of the universe battlefields among the opportunities given to him by the Blood North secret area. The star map recorded a special space that might contain great opportunities. The location of this special space was in the Devil Smoke Valley. As one of the 3 battlefields, Devil Smoke Valley not only has a large number of experts from various astral worlds roaming there, but also contains a large number of natural dangers. For me, I don't need to pay too much attention to those experts from various astral worlds. After all, they are not experts above the ruler level, so they should not be able to threaten me. But the natural dangers in Devil Smoke Valley are the most terrifying. Jian Wushuang knew very well. His life-saving ability was strong. Even if a ruler-level expert was chasing after him, he could still try to escape. There was even a chance that he could escape. However, some of the natural dangers in Devil Smoke Valley could even kill a ruler-level expert. If he was careless and fell into those natural dangers, forget about the Star Palace. He was afraid that no one in this territory would be able to save him. No one would be able to save him. For example, Xue Bei found the special space. According to Xue Bei, when he just approached it, he was suffocated and did not dare to go deep. However, Xue Bei was a very powerful expert of the 5th Void Realm. He did not dare to go far in that special space. It was obvious how dangerous that special space was. This time, Jian Wushuang was going to explore that special space, so he had to be careful. My young friend, this is what you need. Axe One Master reached out and took out a gray bead with a strange aura and handed it to Jian Wushuang. This bead was accidentally obtained by an expert of Star Palace. After you refine it and integrate it into your body, it will naturally help you hide your divine power aura. However, the level of this bead is not too high. After it conceals your aura, the Principal's Master will naturally not be able to see any flaws. An ordinary ruler-level expert who is weak in strength or perception may not be able to see through it. However, if you encounter an extremely strong or extremely sensitive ruler-level expert, he will be able to see through you easily. It's already good enough to fool an ordinary master-level expert. Jian Wushuang accepted the gray bead with satisfaction. There were only so many master-level experts in this territory. He did not even know if he would meet a master-level expert during his trip to Devil Smoke Valley. Even if he did meet one, he would not be able to see through his strength unless he was extremely strong, or if it was a ruler-level expert with sharp senses, he would not be able to see through his actual strength. Most importantly, even if a ruler-level expert happened to see through his strength, so what? A ruler-level expert wouldn't be so bored as to reveal this matter to the public unless it was a ruler who had a grudge against him or the Star Palace. Other than this ruler, I've also prepared 2 things for you, Axe One Master said, then flipped his hand and took out another jade slip. This jade slip contains the star map of Devil Smoke Valley that our Star Palace experts have obtained after searching for a long time. Of course, Devil Smoke Valley is too huge. Even after searching for a long time, The star map that our star palace has obtained is probably less than 1/10 of Devil Smoke Valley. However, it's better to have the star map than not having it. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded. The star map was very important in the Devil Smoke Valley. Without the star map, it was no different from seeking death to wander blindly. Other than the star map, the Jade Slip also contains information about most of the experts from the various forces in the astral world of this territory. Most of them are experts who happen to be wandering in the Devil Smoke Valley during this period of time, especially those who are extremely powerful and need the main experts. They are all marked in the Jade Slip. Take a good look and have a good idea. In the future, when you are adventuring in the Devil Smoke Valley, if you encounter these extremely powerful experts, it's best to avoid them. After all, those who are adventuring in the universe battlefield, as long as they aren't from any major faction, can be classified as enemies. In the universe battlefield, there are people everywhere who kill and plunder the treasures of other experts. There are many people like this in the Devil Smoke Valley, and among them, there is no lack of experts. Take the newly risen Master Fei, for example. He is a complete killing maniac. In Devil Smoke Valley, he kills anyone he sees. You must be careful when you meet such a person, Axe One Master warned. I understand. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly and took the Jade Slip. In addition to this Jade Slip, Star Palace has specially prepared a supreme treasure for you. Oh, this is it. Axe One Master waved his hand, and a blood-red crystal-like armor appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. As soon as the blood-red crystal jade armor appeared, a strong aura of a true treasure immediately emanated. The strength of this true treasure aura was much stronger than many true treasures Jian Wushuang had seen in the divine beginning realm. Axe One Master, this is? Jian Wushuang looked puzzled. Its name is the Blood Crystal Armor. It was obtained by Star Saint Master when he was adventuring in the Quicksand Demon Realm. It is an elementary universe true treasure armor. Axe One Master said. Elementary universe true treasure? Jian Wushuang frowned. Don't underestimate it. Although it's only an elementary universe true treasure, it's completely different from those true treasures in the divine beginning realm. Most of the true treasures in the divine beginning realm are produced by the divine beginning realm itself, or forged by the blacksmiths in the divine beginning realm. They can't be compared to universe true treasures. Even elementary universe true treasures are much more powerful than those so-called top-tier true treasures in the divine beginning realm. As for this blood crystal armor, as a low-level universe true treasure armor, not only does it have amazing protective abilities, but it can also greatly increase one's own power. This is a treasure that many principles masters yearn for and even fight over madly. Actually, there aren't many such treasures in Star Palace, so under normal circumstances, even great beings from Star Palace would need to make sufficient contributions to Star Palace or rely on other treasures to exchange for a universe true treasure of this level. There are almost no free gifts. As for you, our Star Palace has also considered that you are only an immortal saint after all, and it's your first time exploring the universe battlefield. In order to improve your life-saving ability, we temporarily gave you the blood crystal armor. However, we only lent it to you, and you will have to repay it in the future. After you have explored the universe battlefield for a period of time and familiarized yourself with the environment, our Star Palace will take back the blood crystal armor. Or you can take out a treasure of equal value to exchange for the blood crystal armor, Axe One Master said. Is that so? Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows and looked at the blood crystal armor in front of him. Without hesitation, he forced out a drop of blood essence and began to refine it. In just a moment, the blood crystal armor turned into a blood-red robe and was put on his body. As for the golden armor that Jian Wushuang was wearing, he naturally put it back into his interspatial ring. Although the golden armor was his natal armor, which had gradually grown over the years and reached the level of a supreme treasure, it was forged in the divine beginning realm, so its limitations were too low. It was far from being comparable to the universe supreme treasure armor. Previously, Jian Wushuang wore the golden armor, so it could only provide him with some protective abilities. But now that he wore the blood crystal armor, Jian Wushuang immediately understood the universe supreme treasure armor. It was very different from the golden armor. The blood crystal armor not only had excellent protective abilities, but it could greatly weaken the attack power of the enemy experts. At the same time, it also contained 3 layers of power. The first layer of power increased the power of one's divine power by 10 times. The second layer of power increased the power of one's divine power by 40 times. The third level of power increased the power of his divine power by 100 times. This is too strong? Jian Wushuang's eyes widened. The power of divine power increased by 10 times or 100 times. Did this not increase a person's strength? Although the armor only increased the basic divine power, not the power of the will after mastering the rules or the strongest power of the whole, the increase in the basic divine power was still significant, would also have a huge impact on a person's strength. Especially for Jian Wushuang, he was a perfect chaotic creature. Although he was only at the saint level, his basic divine power was even stronger than that of an ordinary principles master. In other words, his basic divine power was already stronger than that of an ordinary principles master. If he activated the power of the blood crystal armor, he could fully display his advantage in the basic divine power. This armor is too powerful, and it's only an elementary universe true treasure. I wonder how powerful that so-called advanced universe true treasure or top-tier or pinnacle universe true treasure is. Jian Wushuang exclaimed. At the same time, the image of the mountain river map appeared in his mind. After all, the mountain river map was a pinnacle universe true treasure. It was a pity that although he had the supreme treasure, he had never been able to fully utilize its power. He had only used the power given to him by the blood wave on the Saha Island. He had forcefully activated the power of the mountain river map and severely injured the Flame Saint Master and the Sorcerer God. My young friend, can you activate the triple power of the blood crystal armor? X1 Master looked at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang immediately tried, and the results soon came out. I've already tried. Now I can only activate the first level of power. As for the second level of power, I feel it's still far from enough, Jian Wushuang said. It's already good enough to activate the first level of power. X1 Master smiled and said, under normal circumstances, only the top experts among the principles masters can activate the first level of power. The second level of power can only be activated by experts who have reached the pinnacle of the Void Master. As for the third level of power, it can only be activated by experts at the ruler level. Only a master-level expert can activate the third level of power? Jian Wushuang was surprised. It's all the same, and it's because the blood crystal armor is only an elementary universe true treasure armor. If it's an advanced or top-tier universe true treasure armor, even an ordinary master can't fully unleash its power. But as long as it can unleash part of the power of a true treasure, it can greatly increase its strength. X1 Master smiled. My dear Heavenly Sword Marquis, you've just arrived at the universe battlefield, and you haven't really explored it yet, so you don't know much about it. In fact, for many great beings who have explored the 3 battlefields of the universe, their own power is important, but there are some powerful true treasures that can greatly enhance their power. Take ordinary attack true treasures as an example. Any universe true treasure, even if it's just a low-level universe true treasure, can be very useful in the hands of great beings. Ordinary principles masters all have immortal bodies, which are extremely difficult to kill. However, as long as they have an attack godly weapon at the level of a universe true treasure, it'll be easy to kill this principles master. For example, in the divine beginning realm, it is extremely difficult for a principles master at the 5th level of the void realm to kill a principles master at the 4th level of the void realm. It requires a certain degree of luck. However, on the universe battlefield, if those principles masters at the 5th level of the void realm who have universe true treasures encounter a principles master at the 4th level of the void realm, as long as they think of a way to prevent the other party from escaping, it will be extremely easy to kill him. Sometimes, they can even kill the other party with a simple move or two. Some principles masters who have a big gap in strength can even kill a principles master in one strike. Is that so? Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. He thought to himself, it's indeed very difficult to kill a principles master in the divine beginning realm. However, in the universe battlefield, even though they are all principles masters, It seems that it's relatively easy for an expert to kill a weak one as long as they have a powerful universe true treasure. However, I don't have any universe true treasures that can be used to attack. His offensive godly weapon was the Blood Mountain Sword, which was his original godly weapon. It had grown with him. Although it had the potential to become a universe true treasure, there was still a big gap between it and a universe true treasure. Star Palace had only given him a blood crystal armor for life-saving purposes, but they had not given him any offensive godly weapons. My young friend, there is another token here. This token is your identity token. After you refine it, you can sense any experts from the Star Palace near you. In addition, if you encounter any danger or trouble in the 3 battlefields in the future, you can use this token to seek help from the experts from the Star Palace around you at any time. Axe 1 Master said. I understand. Jian Wushuang took the token and nodded slightly. All right, I've given you everything I need to give you. I've told you everything I need to tell you. Now, you can go directly to the hidden stronghold near Devil Smoke Valley through the Universe Passage in my Star Palace. Axe 1 Master said. Then he turned around and left. Thank you, Axe 1 Master. Jian Wushuang thanked him. After Axe 1 Master left, Jian Wushuang heaved a sigh of relief and then smiled. I have mastered the principles of destruction in the 600 years of cultivation in the Star Palace. I have also created the strongest move in swordsmanship. It is time for me to go to the Devil Smoke Valley and have a good look. With that, Jian Wushuang headed straight for the Star Palace Cosmic Passage. As one of the 3 battlefields, Devil Smoke Valley was frighteningly large. In the Divine Beginning realm, there were countless cultivators and vast territories in the universe, but in fact, the area of the Divine Beginning realm was far smaller than Devil Smoke Valley. It was not even 1/20th of the total area of Devil Smoke Valley. It was precisely because Devil Smoke Valley was too vast that so many experts from the Star Palace went to explore it. However, the area they explored was still less than 1/10 of Devil Smoke Valley. In the void near Devil Smoke Valley, there was a hidden stronghold of the Star Palace. In the void outside the stronghold, brother, this time we have to properly explore Devil Smoke Valley. We have to find more opportunities before we can return. Heavy Master, who carried a heavy sword on his back and was more than 2 meters tall, said in a deep voice. I know. Last time, in order to save me, you exchanged all the contribution points you earned in Star Palace in one go. You even exchanged the basic universe true treasure armor you obtained with great difficulty for contribution points. Only then did you ask Marquis Duanyu to come and save me. Don't worry. This time, you and I will explore Devil Smoke Valley. We must earn back all the things you exchanged for, said an evil middle-aged man with purple hair and purple eyes. Haha. With your words, I can rest assured. With us brothers working together, as long as our luck isn't too bad and we encounter a limited number of monsters, we should be able to do whatever we want. If we have the chance, we can even try venturing into the depths of Devil Smoke Valley, the Heavy Master said. Venturing into the depths is still too much of a stretch. Let's first venture into the outer regions and see if there are any gains. The purple-haired, purple-eyed, evil middle-aged man said. Heavy Master nodded. But suddenly his expression changed. He lifted his head and stared at the space behind him. There, a figure walked out from the Star Palace's stronghold. Heavy, that person walked out from your Star Palace's stronghold. He should be an expert from your Star Palace, right? But why does he look so unfamiliar? The violet-haired, violet-eyed, evil middle-aged man asked. Of course he's unfamiliar. He has only stepped into the universe and has only been in my Star Palace for 600 years. During these 600 years, he has been staying in my Star Palace's lair. This is probably the first time he has ventured into the 3 great battlefields, Heavy Master said. Is that so? The purple-haired, purple-eyed, evil middle-aged man understood. However, Heavy Master had already frowned at this moment. Strange. 600 years ago, Heavenly Sword Marquis was only an immortal saint when he was brought to the Star Palace by Marquis Duanyu. Now, he has already broken through to become a Principal's Master. 600 years ago, he was only an immortal saint? In other words, he has just broken through to become a Principal's Master. The purple-haired, purple-eyed, Evil middle-aged man could not help but be surprised. A principal's master who has just broken through actually dares to come to Devil Flame Island to explore. Moreover, it seems that he intends to explore alone? What audacity! That's right. Heavy Master also nodded. He has just broken through, and yet he dares to explore Devil Flame Valley alone. This heavenly sword marquis really doesn't know what's good for him. In any case, he doesn't have any friendship with us, so there's no need to pay attention to him. Let's go. After saying that, Heavy Master and the purple-haired, purple-eyed, evil middle-aged man headed straight for Devil Flame Valley. Jian Wushuang had just walked out of the stronghold of Star Palace, so he naturally noticed Heavy Master. Heavy Master, the one next to him should be his brother, Purple Sound Master, right? 600 years ago, when I first arrived at Star Palace, Heavy Master was very anxious to ask Marquis Duanyu to save his brother. Now it seems that he has been saved. However, the Heavy Master doesn't seem to want to talk to me. Jian Wushuang touched his nose with a strange expression, but he did not care. He had already refined the bead that hid the aura of divine power. He used the bead's saint aura and deliberately disguised it as the aura of a principal's master. Therefore, when the Heavy Master saw him, he thought that he had broken through to become a principal's master. In fact, he was still an immortal saint. However, even though he was just an immortal saint, Jian Wushuang still went to the Devil Smoke Valley alone. The Devil Smoke Valley was filled with black smoke, which was a kind of miasma. It had a certain erosive effect on the divine body of cultivators, especially in the deepest part of the Devil Smoke Valley, where the miasma was extremely strong. Even principal's masters in the 4 or 5 void realms could hardly resist it. Therefore, under normal circumstances, the experts who dared to go to the deepest part of the Devil Smoke Valley were all above the 6 void realms. Just like what the Heavy Master had said earlier, they were not venturing into the depths of the Devil Smoke Valley. Within the hazy black smoke, the Heavy Master and the Purple Sound Master were moving forward side by side. As they had just entered the Devil Smoke Valley, they were still at the outermost perimeter of the valley. The dangers here were much less, hence, the two of them were not too nervous. They were chatting as they moved forward. I don't know what kind of ability that Heavenly Sword Marquis has. 600 years ago, it was said that Marquis Duanyu personally went to the astral world to bring him in. When I saw him at that time, he was clearly just an immortal saint, but Marquis Duanyu said that his strength might not be inferior to mine. Brother, don't you think this is a joke? The Heavy Master curled his lips and said, An immortal saint is as powerful as you? Purple Sound Master shook his head and smiled. Maybe there's a special relationship between Sword Sky Marquis and Marquis Duanyu. Yeah, I think so too. You didn't see it, but I sensed him. The blood robe he's wearing is actually a low-level universe true treasure armor, the blood crystal armor. It's one of the top-tier universe true treasure armors, and it's more valuable than the one I got before. Now that it's in his hands, I'm sure he didn't exchange it for it with his contribution points. Maybe it was Marquis Duanyu who gave it to him, said Heavy Master. Haha, why? Are you jealous of him or the blood crystal armor on his body? Purple Sound Master laughed. In fact, even if there is a special relationship between Marquis Duanyu and Sword Sky Marquis, Marquis Duanyu can't give him a low-level universe true treasure of Star Palace by himself. Even if he wanted to give it to him, he had to exchange it with his contribution points. That's true, said Heavy Master, but I still can't accept it. A great being from Star Palace risked his life to get a true treasure, and yet, it was given to him for nothing. Look at him. With his power, he's wandering around Devil Smoke Valley alone. It won't be long before other great beings find him and kill him. His blood crystal armor will naturally fall into the hands of others. If I get this blood crystal armor, my power will completely recover to peak level, or even stronger. Alright, don't be jealous. If you want a true treasure, you can look for it in Devil Smoke Valley. There are many opportunities and true treasures here. If you're lucky, you might be able to get a higher level true treasure armor, Purple Sound Master said. Yes, you're right. Heavy Master nodded. However, at that moment, a thin figure suddenly appeared in the black smoke in front of them. Ha! Heavy Master and Purple Sound Master immediately looked over. This person is Bitter Hand Master from the Punishment God sector. Bitter Hand Master is only at the 4th level of the Void Realm, and he doesn't have a universe true treasure armor to protect his body. However, he has an offensive godly weapon that is at the level of a low-level universe true treasure. In addition, he has a domain-type true treasure and a soul defense-type true treasure, which is the best in the star sector. Heavy Master and Purple Sound Master recognize the figure in front of them immediately, and at the same time they immediately remembered the information about this person. In an instant, their gazes became somewhat heated, and that Bitter Hand Master also noticed their gazes at the first moment, and was startled on the spot. His expression also changed drastically, and without any hesitation, he immediately turned around and fled madly. "Haha! You still want to escape? Bitter Hand Master, why are you in such a hurry to escape? You should stay and have a good talk with us brothers." Both Heavy Master and Purple Sound Master laughed loudly, and their speed immediately erupted as they chased after Bitter Hand Master. On the universe battlefield, the great beings from various forces and factions did not need to pay attention to any rules. When they saw each other, as long as they thought they were stronger than the other, they could directly intercept and kill or plunder. Now that the two of them saw Bitter Hand Master, the first thing they understood was that Bitter Hand Master could not compete with either of them. Besides, Bitter Hand Master had an offensive godly weapon at the level of a universe elementary true treasure. There were also several top-tier true treasures within the star sector. These things were very attractive to both Heavy Master and Purple Sound Master. Therefore, the two of them made a decision without hesitation. They wanted to kill Bitter Hand Master in front of them and seize the treasures in his hands. However, as the two of them chased after him, they discovered that although this Bitter Hand Master was not very strong, his escape speed was very impressive. The two of them had already burst forth with their fastest speed, however, they were unable to close the distance between them. And during the chase, Ziming Master also discovered something. Something isn't right. The direction this Bitter Hand Master is fleeing toward is actually the tornado stream. Ziming Master frowned. The tornado stream is filled with incomparably terrifying hurricanes on both sides. Even the divine bodies of experts at the 6 void realms could be easily annihilated. Although there is a passageway in the middle of the tornado stream that can be directly passed through, the passageway isn't wide. Once an intense battle occurs, the slightest carelessness would cause one to fall into the hurricanes on both sides and be doomed forever. The Bitter Hand Master is not slow. He has a chance to escape from us. Why is he running toward Whirlwind Brook? There were many dangerous places in Devil Smoke Valley. One of them was Whirlwind Brook, and it was quite famous. The surroundings of Whirlwind Brook were filled with terrifying hurricanes. Those hurricanes could easily kill Principal's Masters. Even the Principal's Masters of the 6 states of Void would have a high chance of dying if they were caught in those hurricanes. Such a dangerous place was a taboo for ordinary cultivators, and they did not dare to go there easily. Therefore, seeing that Bitter Hand Master was actually fleeing in the direction of the tornado stream, Ziming Master felt a little strange at the first moment. However, Heavy Master snorted coldly and said, "This place is relatively close to the tornado stream. Bitter Hand Master was chased by you and me, so he could only run for his life. It's normal for him to flee to the tornado stream in a moment of desperation. It's not a big deal. He's a Principal's Master at the bottom of the 4 levels of the Void, and he doesn't have any great power or background behind him. Could it be that he wants to scheme against the two of us?" Heavy Master did not mind. Hearing his words, Purple Sound Master nodded slightly. "You're right." Although the two of them sensed that Bitter Hand Master was fleeing in a strange direction, they did not pay too much attention to it and continued to chase after him. The main reason was that the two of them were more confident in working together. In the outer area of Devil Smoke Valley, there were only a few top experts who could truly threaten the two of them, and this Bitter Hand Master did not have a big background, thus they were not too vigilant and on guard. After a round of pursuit, the 3 of them quickly entered the Whirlwind Brook. The moment they entered the Whirlwind Brook, Heavy Master and Purple Sound Master immediately sensed the terrifying hurricanes on both sides. Although the hurricanes were still some distance away from them, they still gave them a feeling of fear and trepidation. Heavy, be careful. The hurricanes in this whirlwind brook are extremely terrifying. If either one of us were to fall into these hurricanes, we would most likely die, Purple Sound Master said. I know. Heavy Master nodded heavily. However, his gaze was fixed on Bitter Hand Master, and a fierce light flickered in the depths of his eyes. Bitter Hand Master's speed has already slowed down. Purple Sound Master nodded. From the moment we chased after him, his speed was close to ours at the start. However, gradually his speed slowed down. It seems that he used some sort of secret technique previously. In a short period of time, he was able to burst out with a speed close to ours. However, as time passes, his speed will become slower and slower. This way, we can catch up to him. During his escape, Bitter Hand Master's speed had been slowing down. It was precisely because of this that the two of them felt that they had a chance to chase down and kill Bitter Hand Master, which was why they did not hesitate to chase him all the way to this whirlwind brook. However, right at this moment, the figure of Bitter Hand Master, who had been frantically fleeing ahead, suddenly stopped. He stopped in the central area of the whirlwind brook passage, after which he turned his head to look at Heavy Master and Purple Sound Master. A cold and strange smile appeared on his face. Heavy Master from Star Palace and solitary expert Purple Sound Master have chased after me for such a long time. Aren't the two of you tired? Bitter Hand Master said coldly. Heavy Master and Ziming Master's expressions sank. From Bitter Hand Master's expression and his words, they immediately had a bad premonition. Bitter Hand Master's gaze suddenly turned to the side. I wonder if these two principals masters are in accordance with your wishes, my lord? My lord! Heavy Master and Ziming Master's expressions changed. Sure enough, after Bitter Hand Master finished speaking, a human figure slowly stepped out from the hurricane on the other side. Someone is here? And he is hiding in the hurricane. Heavy Master was shocked. They knew very well how terrifying the hurricanes on both sides of the tornado stream were. Even the hurricanes at the edge could easily kill a 5-level Principles Master of the Void Realm. As for a 6-level Principles Master of the Void Realm, they could only withstand it. Only a great being at the 6th level of the Void Realm with a Universe True Treasure armor and above could stay in the hurricanes at the edge with relative ease. And the person who appeared now was obviously hiding in the hurricanes at the edge. While enduring the attacks of the hurricanes, he was also using them to perfectly hide himself. Heavy Master and Purple Sound Master did not notice that there was someone there at the first moment. It was not until Heavy Master and Purple Sound Master arrived here, and they were very close to him, that he finally walked out of the hurricane and appeared in front of Heavy Master and Purple Sound Master. To be able to do this, there was no doubt about his strength. Bitter Hand Master, you did well. This is for you. The person who walked out of the hurricane glanced at Bitter Hand Master and threw an interspatial ring over. Thank you, my lord. Bitter Hand Master received the interspatial ring, and his face revealed a look of surprise and joy. At this moment, Heavy Master and Purple Sound Master had also clearly seen the appearance of the person and recognized him at the first moment. Once they recognized him, their hearts instantly trembled. God Fei Master. It's actually him. Wasn't he adventuring in the depths of Devil Smoke Valley? When did he come to the outer region of Devil Smoke Valley? Heavy Master and Purple Sound Master's expressions changed drastically. God Fei Master was an extremely powerful expert who had risen to power in Devil Smoke Valley all these years, and he was an absolute madman who only knew how to kill. When he roamed the Devil Smoke Valley, he would kill all the experts he met, regardless of their strength or background. Furthermore, he was terrifyingly strong. He was a peak existence among the experts of the 6 Void Realms. Such a madman was feared by all the powers, including the experts of the various astral worlds. They did not dare to provoke him. For example, the Star Palace had already given the order that all the experts who roamed the Devil Smoke Valley, as long as they encountered this God Fei Master, they would immediately flee for their lives. Moreover, they would immediately flee when they discovered the other party's existence. They absolutely could not give the other party the chance to get close to them. Heavy Master naturally remembered this point. However, He had never expected that this God Fey Master would actually come from the depths of Devil Smoke Valley to this outer region. Moreover, he had come just as he came. He had actually joined forces with Bitter Hand Master. He had let Bitter Hand Master set up a trap to lure him and Purple Sound Master over. Now he and Purple Sound Master had already arrived here, and God Fey Master was right in front of them, just a short distance away. "Brother, run!" Heavy Master did not hesitate. After confirming that the other party was God Fey Master, he immediately let out a roar and turned around to flee frantically. "Run!" Purple Sound Master was also burning with anxiety, and he started to run away madly. Seeing this, God Fey Master sneered, "You are already jumping on my face, and you still want to escape?" So, God Fey Master's speed burst out. As a peak expert of the 6 states of the void, his speed was much faster than that of Heavy Master and Purple Sound Master. Moreover, the distance between them was not far, and with his speed, he caught up in a short moment. "Die!" God Fey Master held a golden hammer in each of his hands. These 2 golden hammers seemed to weigh hundreds of millions of kilograms. As God Fey Master waved his right hand, one of the golden hammers streaked across the void like a bolt of golden lightning. It struck out in the direction of Heavy Master and Purple Sound Master. Heavy Master and Purple Sound Master were so frightened that their expressions changed drastically. "Attack together!" Heavy Master shouted in a low voice, and the heavy sword behind him immediately went up to meet it. Purple Sound Master also unleashed all of his power at the first moment, and a purple battle blade slashed out like a purple demon. Heavy Master and Purple Sound Master were not weak, and they were both pinnacle great beings at the 4th level of the Void Realm. Furthermore, one of them had cultivated a special secret technique, and the other had 2 universe true treasures on him. If they were to clash head-on, they were not weaker than ordinary great beings of the 5th level of the Void Realm. Now that the 2 of them were working together, they were not completely defenseless against God Fey Master. Pong! Heavy Master spat out a mouthful of blood, and his godly body trembled crazily. More than 40% of the godly power in his body was consumed. As for Purple Sound Master, his godly body was heavily injured because he had the protection of a low-level universe true treasure armor. However, the amount of godly power consumed was much better than Heavy Master's. However, the rebounding force created by the collision caused the distance between the 2 of them and God Fey Master to widen. The 2 of them started to flee frantically once again. At the same time, Heavy Master took out his Star Palace token and hurriedly sent a message to the token. "Mayday, Mayday! I've already fought head-on with God Fey Master, and I've already used up a lot of my godly power. Anyone who is near, come and save me." As soon as the news of Heavy Master was spread out, most of the experts who were adventuring in the outer area of Devil Smoke Valley received the news and immediately responded. "God Fey Master? He actually came to the outer area of Devil Smoke Valley? Heavy Master, how could you be so careless and actually fight with God Fey Master? You should have immediately fled when you saw God Fey Master from afar. Now that you've fought him head-on, how could you escape? Being targeted by God Fey Master? Then how can we save you? Even if we can rush over, wouldn't it be suicide? I don't fear God Fey Master too much, but unfortunately, I am too far away from Tornado Stream. There is no way I can rush over. Heavy Master, you'd better pray for your own good. Heavy, there is nothing we can do to redeem you." Most of the Principal's Masters who were adventuring outside Devil Smoke Valley had sent news. However, it was either because they were too far away that they could not make it in time, or even if they were relatively close, they were not as strong as Heavy Master. Rushing over would also be courting death, and it would be of no use at all. Naturally, none of them could do anything about it. After receiving these replies, Heavy Master's heart turned cold. But right at this moment, "Heavy Master, I just happen to be near Tornado Stream, and I'll be arriving at the entrance of Tornado Stream soon. Hurry over to my side as soon as possible, and I'll help you escape." A message was suddenly transmitted over. "Yes, this is..." Heavy Master was startled, but then his expression became strange, because the person who transmitted this message to him was none other than Heavenly Sword Marquis. whom he had not thought highly of before and thought that the other party was seeking his own death by coming to Devil Smoke Valley. Sword Heaven Marquis, he is also near Tornado Stream, and he is already rushing over here? Heavy Master narrowed his eyes. Although he came here to save me, his strength, I don't care about that. Let's escape first. Heavy Master still did not believe in Jian Wushuang's strength. However, in the current situation, Jian Wushuang was the last straw, so he had to grab hold of it. The Tornado Stream passage was not long. With the speed of Heavy Master and Purple Sound Master, they soon reached the entrance of the Tornado Stream, and Jian Wushuang arrived there just in time. Is that God Fei Master? Jian Wushuang stood at the entrance. His soul power had already sensed the existence of God Fei Master, and at the same time, he had also sensed the danger of the Heavy Master and the Purple Sound Master. Without hesitation, Jian Wushuang activated the Golden Sky Painting banner. Space-time domain. A vast amount of space-time power merged into the Golden Sky Painting banner. The Golden Sky Painting banner shook slightly and immediately merged with the surrounding void. Walala! An endless amount of time and space power visible to the naked eye swept out like a wave of air. In the blink of an eye, it formed a huge space-time ocean. The space-time ocean covered the entire world around it, and the entire world was under Jian Wushuang's control. The Golden Banner was a Universe Supreme Treasure to begin with, and it was an advanced Universe Supreme Treasure that focused on space-time. Over the years, as Jian Wushuang's strength increased and he became more proficient in the use of time and space rules, he was able to perform some of the techniques in the Golden Sky Painting flag better. From the time and space imprisonment at the beginning to the time and space imprisonment. Now, he was able to use the complete time and space domain. The effect of the time and space domain was actually similar to that of an ordinary domain type Advanced Universe True Treasure. The difference was that an ordinary Advanced Domain type True Treasure mainly suppressed the opponent's strength, but the time and space domain suppressed the opponent's speed to the greatest extent. For example, when Jian Wushuang used the space-time domain and used it, all the space-time power pressed down on God Fei Master's body, instantly reducing her speed dramatically. Heavy Master, Purple Sound Master, both of you, get out of here quickly, Jian Wushuang shouted. Heavenly Sword Marquis? Heavy Master looked up at Jian Wushuang. At the same time, he also noticed that God Fei Master's speed had been greatly reduced, and he was immediately overjoyed. He did not have time to thank Jian Wushuang and rushed to the void with Master Purple Sound Master at their fastest speed. After all, the two of them were not suppressed by the space-time domain at all. God Fei Master also looked at Jian Wushuang. Did you call for help? God Fei Master narrowed her eyes and stared at Jian Wushuang. I've never seen this person in the information. He must be a Principal's Master who just appeared. However, his Universe True Treasure in space-time is extremely rare. God Fei Master was very knowledgeable. He could tell that the time-space True Treasure Jian Wushuang was using was of a very high level. Otherwise, it would not have exerted such a great pressure on his speed. If I'm not mistaken, this should be a Senior Universe True Treasure in terms of time and space. It might even be at the top level among Senior Universe True Treasures. God Fei Master's eyes narrowed slightly. A true treasure in terms of time and space is extremely valuable. It's not much more valuable than an ordinary true treasure armor. As for a time and space true treasure that has reached the level of an advanced universe true treasure, I'm afraid it's even more valuable than the combination of Heavy Master and Purple Sound Master. Thinking of this, God Fei Master's eyes locked on Jian Wushuang. He did not chase after Heavy Master and Purple Sound Master. Instead, he rushed toward Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang was not as good as God Fei Master. God Fei Master is coming for me? Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. He guessed that God Fei Master was thinking about his golden banner. Haha. It depends on whether you have the ability to think about my true treasure. Jian Wushuang smiled. He turned around and rushed toward the void. God Fei Master followed him at full speed. As for Heavy Master and Purple Sound Master, they had already escaped. That was close. We were almost killed by you, God Fei Master. Heavy Master and Purple Sound Master stood in the void not far away from Tornado Stream. Both of them were still in fear. God Fei Master is too terrifying. He lost more than 40% of my divine power in one move. He could have killed me in another 2 or 3 moves. Fortunately, Heavenly Sword Marquis came in time and stopped him for us. Otherwise, Heavy Master sighed softly. Heavy Master, you previously said that Heavenly Sword Marquis came to Devil Smoke Valley alone to seek death. However, in the blink of an eye he saved you. If it weren't for him, the 2 of us would have been doomed, Purple Sound Master said. It was indeed my fault. I was too stupid. When I see him after this, I will definitely apologize to him in person, Heavy Master said. Not just apologize. This time he saved us brothers. We must remember this favor. We should be grateful to him, Purple Sound Master said. Of course. But now, the troublesome thing is that God Fei Master has his eyes on him. We don't know if he can escape from God Fei Master's hands, Heavy Master said worriedly. Don't worry. Heavenly Sword Marquis has a universe true treasure in the aspect of time and space, and it seems to be of a high level. Even God Fei Master's speed is greatly suppressed by him. As long as God Fei Master's speed is constantly suppressed, he shouldn't be able to catch up with Heavenly Sword Marquis. So he won't pose any threat to him, Purple Sound Master said. Well, I hope so. The Heavy Master nodded slightly. In the vast void outside Devil Smoke Valley, Jian Wushuang and God Fei Master were chasing each other rapidly. It had to be said that God Fei Master was an expert at the peak of the 6th realm of the Void Realm, so he had some strength. Even though he was limited by the space-time domain, his speed was still very fast. Unfortunately, in terms of speed, Jian Wushuang was also very good at it. If God Fei Master had not been suppressed by the space-time domain, Jian Wushuang's speed would have been much slower than his. However, because of the pressure of the space-time domain, Jian Wushuang's flying speed was actually a little faster than God Fei Master's. God Fei Master, you can't catch up with me at all. Do you want to waste time following me? Jian Wushuang chuckled as he flew. Can't catch up with you? God Fei Master sneered and looked around the void. There shouldn't be any experts around here. In that case, there's no need to hide anymore. As soon as he finished speaking, God Fei Master's body shook, and a pair of huge golden wings appeared behind him. The golden wings had beautiful lines as if they had grown on God Fei Master's body. However, Jian Wushuang knew that the golden wings were a true treasure and an elementary universe true treasure. A flying universe true treasure? Jian Wushuang was stunned when he saw the golden wings. There were many types of true treasures, including flying, space-time true treasures, and suppression true treasures. They were much more precious than ordinary attack true treasures and true treasure armors. What God Fei Master took out was obviously a flying elementary universe true treasure. Wow! As soon as the golden wings appeared, God Fei Master transformed into a golden stream of light, leaving golden phantoms in the void. His speed was more than twice as fast as before. The gap between him and Jian Wushuang, and it was starting to close up fast. So fast. Jian Wushuang's pupils contracted. This God Fei Master has been wandering in Devil Smoke Valley for quite some time. Not only has he killed wantonly, he has even been hunted down by experts at the pinnacle of the 6 levels of void. However, no matter if he is killing or being hunted down, no one has ever heard of him possessing a flying-type universe true treasure. From the looks of it, he has quite a few tricks up his sleeve. Jian Wushuang sighed in admiration. After seeing the speed of God Fei Master's golden wings, Jian Wushuang understood that he could not get rid of God Fei Master by relying on his speed alone. The latter would certainly catch up with him. In this case, Jian Wushuang simply did not bother to run anymore. Buzz! Jian Wushuang suddenly stopped in the void and turned to look at God Fei Master. Ha ha! Kid, you know you can't escape, so you don't want to run anymore? God Fei Master laughed loudly and appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. The golden wings on his back were still unfurled. It seemed that he was ready to pounce on Jian Wushuang at any time. God Fei Master, you're too conceited. The only reason I ran away just now was because I didn't want to cause trouble. Do you really think I'm afraid of you? Jian Wushuang smiled faintly without any fear in his heart. Although God Fei Master was very powerful and was already at the peak of the 6 void realms, and was well known in Devil Smoke Valley, Jian Wushuang was no longer comparable to before. 600 years ago, when he was adventuring in the demon realm, it was impossible for him to face an expert at the peak of the 6 void realms. Jian Wushuang was even shocked when he saw the fierce battle between Demon Master Qinhua and De Ying. But now, 600 years later, as his strength soared, he had nothing to fear from a mere expert at the peak of the 6th realm of the void. God Fei Master, I've heard that you've been slaughtering people in Devil's Smoke Valley all these years. Only a few people have survived. But today, I'd like to see how powerful you are. Jian Wushuang smiled. The Blood Mountain sword had already appeared in his hand. Boy, you're so arrogant. Since you're courting death, I'll grant you your wish. God Fei Master's eyes turned cold. The pair of golden wings on her back flapped violently, and a gale instantly blew. God Fei Master also turned into a golden stream of light. In an instant, he appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. God Fei Master held a golden sledgehammer in each hand. One of the sledgehammers turned into a golden bolt of lightning and struck toward Jian Wushuang furiously. Jian Wushuang had already activated his life divine power the moment God Fei Master attacked. He also activated his heaven-cleaving skill. I've been cultivating in seclusion in Star Palace for 600 years. I'd like to see how much progress I've made in these 600 years. Jian Wushuang's eyes shone with a fierce light. The moment God Fei Master swung the golden hammer, he took a step forward and swung the Blood Mountain sword in his hand. At this moment, Jian Wushuang unleashed all of his power without holding back. At the same time, he activated the first stage of the Blood Crystal armor with his divine power, which instantly increased the power of his basic divine power by 10 times. Whoosh! A blood-red sword light suddenly descended and collided with the golden hammer in the blink of an eye. Even though his opponent was an expert at the peak of the 6 void realms, Jian Wushuang had no intention of retreating. Boom! An earth-shaking explosion suddenly sounded. A large amount of black smoke in the void was blown away by the power and disappeared. The surrounding void even began to tremble violently. Whoosh! God Fei Master turned into a golden flowing light again and retreated rapidly. As for Jian Wushuang, he also retreated for a distance before coming to a stop. On the surface, the two were evenly matched. You? God Fei Master raised her head and looked at Jian Wushuang in surprise. You're an expert of the 6th realm of the void? Why, are you surprised? Jian Wushuang smiled. There are dozens of star worlds in this territory, and there are countless experts. Isn't it normal for a 6th realm of the void realm to suddenly appear? Like you didn't have any fame before. Did you suddenly appear? God Fei Master understood. Indeed, there were many experts in this territory. Not only in the universe battlefield, but there were also many top experts hiding in the star worlds. Many of them had yet to venture into the 3 battlefields, therefore they were not famous. However, not being famous did not mean that they were weak. When God Fei Master saw Jian Wushuang today, he immediately felt that Jian Wushuang was a stranger. Secondly, the divine power aura emitted by Jian Wushuang was very ordinary. At the level of an ordinary principles master, it made him think that Jian Wushuang was very weak. He only dared to venture into the universe battlefield because he had a time-space type universe supreme treasure. But now, he realized that Jian Wushuang was also very strong. Although he could not compete with Jian Wushuang, he was not much weaker than Jian Wushuang. If you can compete with me, you will be famous in the universe battlefield. Boy, what's your name? God Fei Master stared at Jian Wushuang. My name? I use the blood sword in my hand as a weapon. You can call me Blood Sword Master. Jian Wushuang smiled. He did not want to continue using the name of Heavenly Sword Marquis. After all, Heavenly Sword Marquis was too famous in the Divine Beginning Realm, and the 3 Saint Realms of the Divine Beginning Realm dreamed of killing him. Unfortunately, they could not do it in the Divine Beginning Realm, but it was different in the Universe Battlefield. Although the 3 Saint Realm Masters would not rush to the Universe Battlefield, they could think of other ways to kill him in the Universe Battlefield. Therefore, he decided to change his name. The name Blood Sword Master was derived from his Blood Mountain sword, which was why he had such a personality. Blood Sword Master, you are indeed extraordinary to be able to fight me head-on. However, you ruined my plan today. So, don't think that I will let you go so easily. God Fei Master said. Haha, since you won't let me go, then go ahead. Use whatever means you have. To be honest, I really hope you can find a way to kill me, Jian Wushuang said with a bright smile. As you wish. God Fei Master did not hesitate. His figure flashed and his terrifying speed burst out again. Even with the suppression of the spacetime domain, God Fei Master's speed was still far faster than Jian Wushuang's. This time, when God Fei Master appeared in front of Jian Wushuang, he brandished his golden hammers at the same time. The two hammers were like two golden fire wheels, hurling at Jian Wushuang continuously and ferociously. Jian Wushuang immediately defended himself. Bang! 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 Deafening sounds of collisions and explosions rang out in the void. Jian Wushuang and God Fei Master had fought with all their might, and Jian Wushuang had used the peerless sword manual he had created to its fullest. However, God Fei Master's two sledgehammers were obviously more terrifying. Each of the two sledgehammers was extremely powerful and fierce. Jian Wushuang had to use all his strength to defend against the power of a single hammer strike, but the two sledgehammers kept attacking him crazily. It put a great pressure on Jian Wushuang. God Fei Master is really fierce. His strength is indeed terrifying, especially his two hammers. They are too powerful. I'm at a disadvantage in close combat with him. If it weren't for my blood crystal armor, I wouldn't have been able to resist them. Jian Wushuang's face was solemn. He could see that God Fei Master's strength was not at the peak of the 6 void realms. However, the two hammers in his hands and the supreme treasure armor he was wearing were both universe supreme treasures. Moreover, her level was not low. Coupled with the golden wings on her back, her battle strength was no weaker than that of an ordinary expert at the peak of the 6 void realms. Jian Wushuang had already mastered the destruction principles, so with the addition of his willpower, life divine power, and heaven-cleaving skill, he could also unleash the battle strength of an expert at the 6 void realms. His blood crystal armor was of a very high level. After activating the first level of power, it increased his basic divine power by 10 times, which gave him an advantage in the power of basic divine power. Unfortunately, Jian Wushuang was at a great disadvantage in terms of offensive divine weapons. Jian Wushuang's offensive magic weapon, Blood Mountain Sword, was not even a universe supreme treasure, so it was naturally inferior to the two hammers in the hands of God Fei Master. Moreover, in terms of absolute arts, Jian Wushuang was also inferior to God Fei Master. As a result, when the two fought fiercely, Jian Wushuang was completely suppressed. Blood Sword Master, is that all you've got? Humph! I thought so highly of you just now. God Fei Master snorted coldly. How dare you ruin my plan with such strength? You're courting death. God Fei Master's eyes were cold. The two golden hammers in his hands contained earth-shaking power. However, as soon as God Fei Master finished speaking, the power of his two golden hammers increased by another level. In an instant, Jian Wushuang felt his pressure increase sharply. Any one of the two hammers could crush him completely. Whoosh! Jian Wushuang barely withstood the attack of the golden hammers, but he suddenly retreated. After regaining his balance, Jian Wushuang smiled and said, God Fei Master, how about you take my sword? God Fei Master narrowed her eyes. Jian Wushuang had already made his move. He was still some distance away, but he had already slashed out the Blood Mountain Sword in his hand. The moment the sword was slashed out, a shocking destructive will suddenly swept up. This destructive will, with a will to die, pressed down on God Fei Master in an overwhelming manner. God Fei Master raised his head with a hint of surprise in his eyes, but his speed was not slow. The golden hammer in his right hand suddenly burst out with golden light. Star flash! Swoosh! The golden light flashed and disappeared like a golden meteor streaking across the void. The golden hammer had already collided with the sword light that Jian Wushuang had slashed out. When the two collided, a burst of terrifying power immediately erupted and swept out in all directions with a huge airwave. At the center of the airwave, God Fei Master's body trembled slightly and then staggered back a few steps. As for Jian Wushuang, he did not take a step back. A supreme skill? God Fei Master looked at Jian Wushuang in surprise. I tried my best to use my strongest skill, till death do us part. In the end, I only gained a slight advantage in a head-on collision with him. As expected of God Fei Master, your strength is really impressive. Jian Wushuang smiled. To the death is the latest trick he has created in his 600 years in the constellation. This unique move was mainly because he had seen the scene of the heaven ancestor waving that axe in the forest. That axe not only contained the complete will to destroy, but also contained many mysteries, which also had a great impact on him. After he mastered the principles of destruction, he combined the principles of time and space, the principles of reincarnation, and his swordsmanship comprehension to create this latest move. This move did not only contain the will to destroy, Jian Wushuang also mastered the three principles, as well as his swordsmanship attainments to the fullest. But in terms of level, this move indeed has reached the peak of the 6th level absolute art level. Although God Fei Master's combat power was at the level of a great being at the pinnacle of the 6 levels of Void Realm, the reason he was so powerful was largely due to the fact that he had a universe true treasure. His combat strength was only relatively strong among the 6 Void Realms, and he had never created a peak level 6 secret skill. Therefore, Jian Wushuang was able to gain a slight advantage in the fight against God Fei Master's secret skill. However, this advantage was very small. God Fei Master, I've learned my lesson in today's battle. There's still a long way to go. If we meet again in the future, we'll fight again, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. You want to leave? God Fei Master's eyes were cold. The wings on his back had already spread out. It was obvious that he did not intend to let Jian Wushuang leave so easily. With God Fei Master's speed and the help of the wings on his back, he could easily catch up to Jian Wushuang even under the suppression of the space-time domain. Jian Wushuang naturally knew this, but he smiled and said, God Fei Master, there's something I haven't told you. If I really want to leave, there aren't many people in the universe battlefield who can stop me. Really? God Fei Master narrowed her eyes, eager to try. Goodbye. Jian Wushuang smiled and disappeared in front of God Fei Master. What? God Fei Master looked at the empty void in front of her in astonishment. What happened? Blood Sword Master disappeared. God Fei Master frowned. Teleportation? No, this is Devil Smoke Valley, one of the universe battlefields. The space and time in Devil Smoke Valley are distorted, so teleportation is impossible. Everyone knew that teleportation was impossible in the 3 battlefields. It was not only because there were too many dangerous places and too many obstacles in the 3 battlefields. More importantly, the space and time in the 3 battlefields were different from the space and time in the universe. The space and time here were not balanced, so even great beings who were proficient in the principles of space and time, they could not teleport in the 3 battlefields. But the scene in front of them, he suddenly disappeared without leaving any soul aura. This is obviously a teleportation method. Blood Sword Master. God Fei's expression was a little ugly. He observed the surrounding void for a long time before he was sure Jian Wushuang had indeed used a teleportation method to leave. Blood Sword Master. I'll remember you, God Fei Master muttered. He was not famous before, but now he has the battle strength of the 6 Void Realms. Although he is still far from the peak of the 6 Void Realms, he has many techniques. Not only does he have an advanced universe supreme treasure in spacetime, but he also knows how to teleport in the universe battlefield. It won't be long before he becomes famous in the universe battlefield. It's a pity that he can teleport. Unless he is an expert who is also proficient in the spacetime rule and can confine spacetime, it's impossible for anyone to keep Blood Sword Master. At least, I can't do anything to him. God Fei Master shook his head. He had to admit that even though he was stronger than Jian Wushuang in terms of physical strength, he could not do anything to Jian Wushuang even if Jian Wushuang appeared in front of him again. If Jian Wushuang wanted to leave, there was no way he could keep him. I originally wanted to quietly go to the outer area to hunt some prey and get some benefits, but I met a Blood Sword Master at the beginning. How unlucky. God Fei Master sighed softly and turned to leave. This was the entrance to Tornado Stream. Jian Wushuang had come here before and left a space mark here. After using space-time teleportation, he had returned to this place. After getting rid of God Fei Master, Jian Wushuang began to think about the battle just now. After 600 years of cultivation, although my strength has greatly improved and I'm no weaker than an ordinary expert of the 6 realms of the void, it's still very difficult for me to fight against an expert like God Fei Master who can exert the battle strength of the peak of the 6 realms of the void. At most, I can barely fight with her, Jian Wushuang thought. In the battle just now, he had not fought with God Fei Master for a long time, and he had forced her back twice. It did not seem like he was at a disadvantage, but Jian Wushuang knew very well there was still a big gap between his strength and God Fei Master's. First, in terms of absolute arts, other than his strongest sword technique, the 7 sword techniques of the Peerless Sword Manual which he had created were only at the threshold of level 6 absolute arts, or even barely compared to God Fei Master's absolute arts. There was a big gap. Secondly, in terms of true treasures, God Fei Master's offensive true treasures and true treasure armors were of a very high level, and he even had the assistance of a flying universe true treasure. Jian Wushuang's true treasure armors were fine, but the level of Blood Mountain Sword was a little too low. Just these 2 points alone, God Fei Master could crush him without any scruples. Jian Wushuang had a bigger problem. The reason why he could unleash power that was no less than that of an expert of the 6 void realms was because of his life divine power and the heaven-cleaving skill. It was equivalent to giving him 2 more levels of willpower. However, the life divine power was fine, as it only stimulated the potential of a perfect creature. It would not be a burden to him, but the heaven-cleaving skill consumed a lot of his divine power. As a perfect chaotic creature, his divine power was vast, hundreds of times more than that of a regular principles master. However, the heaven-cleaving skill consumed a lot of divine power. Even if Jian Wushuang used it at all costs, in a fierce battle, he could only use the heaven-cleaving skill about 20 times at most. In other words, he could only use the power of an expert in the 6th realm in 10 or 20 attacks. The rest of his attacks could not meet that requirement. Naturally, he could not keep fighting with such combat strength. Therefore, when he fought with God Fei Master just now, he chose to escape immediately after he had a simple understanding of her strength and used his strongest combat strength. The reason was not that he did not want to continue fighting with God Fei Master, but because he could not keep his strongest combat strength and had to escape. Although this battle has not been long, I have already gained a lot, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. This battle allowed him to clearly understand his current strength and some of his shortcomings. He also understood how to improve his strength. First of all, he had to improve his absolute arts. He had to improve the 7 sword moves of the Wushuang Sword Manual as soon as possible. This was the most urgent matter. Secondly, he had to find a more powerful attack supreme treasure. As for the Blood Mountain Sword, unless he found another expert to refine it, it would be difficult for it to meet his requirements. As for finding a way to fuse all 3 rules that he had mastered, it would take a longer time. Jian Wushuang could only take it slowly. Jian Wushuang was deep in thought when suddenly, Heavenly Sword Marquis. Heavy Master's voice came from the void beside him. Jian Wushuang came back to his senses and immediately looked over. When he got rid of God Fei and returned to the entrance of Tornado Stream, he had already sent a message to Heavy Master. Heavy Master and Purple Sound Master, who had received the message, immediately rushed over. Heavenly Sword Marquis, did you lose God Fei Master? Heavy Master asked first. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. God Fei Master is very fast. Unfortunately, I have a space-time domain which greatly limits his speed. He can't catch up with me at all, so he had to leave. Jian Wushuang lied and did not tell Heavy Master and Purple Sound Master that he had actually fought with God Fei Master. Moreover, he had left in front of God Fei Master, so God Fei Master could only watch. It's good that he has left. God Fei Master has been wandering in the depths of Devil Smoke Valley and killing crazily. Many experts have died at his hands. However, because he has killed too many people, experts from various forces in the Star Realms have become very wary of him. They have ordered to flee as soon as they see him. Our Star Palace has also given such an order. I didn't expect that God Fei Master would be so cunning. After knowing that the experts from various forces were on guard against him, he sneaked into the outer area and joined hands with Master Bitterhand. He told Master Bitterhand to leak his tracks in front of us to lure us to kill him. Meanwhile, he hid in the hurricane at the edge of Tornado Stream, waiting for us to fall into his trap. Purple Sound Master and I fell for his trick and almost died at his hands. Fortunately, you arrived. Heavenly Sword Marquis, Heavy Master said as he looked at Jian Wushuang. Suddenly, he bent down and gave Jian Wushuang a big bow. Heavy Master, what are you doing? Jian Wushuang's expression changed. Heavenly Sword Marquis, don't reject me. I have to give you this big bow. Not only to thank you for your kindness, but also to apologize to you for the contempt I showed you. I was stupid and blind. Now that I think about it, I'm really ashamed, Heavy Master said sincerely. Heavy Master, you don't have to do this, Jian Wushuang said with a bitter smile. Heavenly Sword Marquis, just let him be, Purple Sound Master said. If you don't accept his gift, he won't be able to survive for the rest of his life. You know, when I saw you outside the Star Palace stronghold, Heavy Master told me that you were courting death by wandering around Devil Smoke Valley alone. Jian Wushuang was stunned. I'm ashamed. The Heavy Master apologized repeatedly. Jian Wushuang shook his head and accepted the gift, but he did not care. Axe 1 Master had given him information about many experts in the territory, including those in Star Palace. Of course, there was also an introduction about the Heavy Master. In addition to his strength, the information also mentioned the character of the Heavy Master, which was reckless and one-track-minded. However, he was extremely loyal, which was evident from the time when Master Purple Sound Master was trapped. The Heavy Master had spared no effort to ask Marquis Duanyu to help him. Jian Wushuang was very willing to befriend such a person who valued loyalty. Because he knew how Heavy Master was like, even though he knew that Heavy Master did not like him, when he found out that Heavy Master was being hunted by God Fei Master, he still rushed over to save him. If it were anyone else, even if Jian Wushuang came to save them, he would not be so enthusiastic. Heavenly Sword Marquis, I'll remember what happened today. I'll definitely return the favor in the future, Heavy Master said. Heavy Master, you're too kind. Jian Wushuang smiled. They were still exchanging pleasantries. But at this moment, Jian Wushuang and Heavy Master's expressions changed. What's wrong, you two? Purple Sound Master looked over. It's a message from my Star Palace saying that a Universe Supreme Treasure is being born in the nearby territory. They want us to go there immediately, Heavy Master said seriously. A Supreme Treasure is being born? Purple Sound Master raised his eyebrows. If it's just an ordinary elementary Universe Supreme Treasure, it will take a very short time for it to be born. Even if we get the news now, it's probably too late for us to go there. The person who sent the message must know this. But since he sent the message, could it be that it's an advanced Universe Supreme Treasure? The 3 universe battlefields were filled with a large number of opportunities and treasures. For example, the birth of a true treasure was a common occurrence. As long as it was a universe true treasure, it would take a certain amount of time for it to be completely born. The higher the level of the true treasure, the longer it would take for it to be born. It's not an advanced universe true treasure, but its value is higher than an ordinary advanced universe true treasure, said Heavy Master. It's not an advanced universe true treasure, but its value is higher than that of an advanced universe true treasure? Could it be? Purple Sound Master immediately thought of a possibility. It's Paluo God. It's a part of Paluo God. Heavy Master said excitedly. Is it really Paluo God? Purple Sound Master became excited. Guys, what is this Paluo God? Why are you so excited? Jian Wushuang asked in surprise. Although he had received the message, it only said that it was a component of Paluo God. He had just entered the universe battlefield, so he did not know what Paluo God was. Heavy Master immediately explained. Paluo God is a very famous treasure in Devil Smoke Valley. No one knows what level it is exactly, but conservative estimates say that it is at least at the peak level, and its power is extremely strong. Unfortunately, this true treasure hasn't been complete since it was discovered. Instead, it has been disassembled and formed into parts. It is said that there are a total of 36 Paluo God parts, and these Polyuo God parts alone have power equivalent to a low-level universe true treasure. However, if 3 Polyuo God parts are combined together, their power is far higher than a high-level universe true treasure, and it is even close to the level of a top-tier true treasure. If there are more than 9 Polyuo God parts, the combination of them would be extremely terrifying, even among top-tier universe supreme treasures. However, although there are 36 Polyuo God parts, there seem to be less than 20 Polyuo God parts in Devil Smoke Valley. Some parts have already been spread around. Some people have collected 3 Polyuo God parts, but some don't. This makes the Polyuo God parts even more valuable than ordinary advanced universe supreme treasures, even though they are only elementary universe supreme treasures. Is that so? Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for us to see the Polyuo God component appear near us. Let's go. We'll rush there immediately. If we're too late and let the Polyuo God component fall into someone else's hands, we'll regret it, the Heavy Master said. Immediately, the 3 of them rushed toward the place where the Polyuo God component had appeared. The Black Thunder Pool was also a dangerous place in Devil Smoke Valley. This place was filled with dark black divine lightning. These dark black divine lightning were extremely violent and powerful. Ordinary Principles Masters would dare to enter this Black Thunder Pool, but this Black Thunder Pool was only on the ground. There were some in the lower sky, but the void above was not touched. Thus, Principles Masters who passed by could choose to fly directly from the void above the Black Thunder Pool, not having to worry about encountering any dangers. However, today, a Holy Rod part was born in the Black Thunder Pool. When Jian Wushuang, Heavy Master, and Purple Sound Master arrived at the Black Thunder Pool, they immediately saw a black holy rod in the void in the middle of the pool. The black holy rod was not big, and it was smaller than ordinary stick-type supreme treasures. However, the power it emitted was quite impressive. Is that the Polyuo God part? Jian Wushuang glanced at the black staff and narrowed his eyes slightly. Then, he noticed the human figure in the void near the black staff, and his expression became solemn. The 3 people appeared beside one of the human figures. Saber Python Master, Heavy Master greeted the man. Heavy Master, Purple Sound Master. Saber Python Master nodded slightly, but then he looked at Jian Wushuang and asked, "Who is this?" "He just arrived in our star palace. His name is..." Heavy Master did not finish his sentence. "Bloodsword. Just call me Bloodsword," Jian Wushuang said first. "Bloodsword Master. It is very nice to meet you." Saber Python Master was very humble. Jian Wushuang also nodded slightly. Saber Python Master was a Principles Master in Star Palace, and his strength had reached the peak of the Void 4 realms. This time, Saber Python Master was the first to discover the appearance of the Polyuo God component. He was also the one who had sent the message to them. "Saber Python, how long until the Polyuo God component is born?" asked Heavy Master. Although the Polyuo God component is only a low-level universe true treasure, it was decomposed by Polyuo God. The time it takes for it to be born is not any shorter than a normal high-level universe true treasure. It has been a while since I discovered the Polyuo God component. It should be soon before the Polyuo God component is born, said Saber Python Master. However, it was born in the Black Thunder Pool. As long as it doesn't go underground, it's not dangerous. Therefore, people often pass by here. Although I was the first to see it, others still found it while I was waiting for it to be born. So far, many people have gathered here. Jian Wushuang and the other 2 also looked carefully at the people around them. At this moment, there were 8 experts waiting for the appearance of the Polyuo God component, not counting them. The other 8 experts were divided into 4 camps. Jian Wushuang first looked at the burly man who had put a lot of pressure on them. The burly man was wearing red armor and carrying a huge axe on his back. He stood there with his arms folded like a statue, but he did not bother to look at anyone around him. He is the 8-Axe Master, right? Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes slightly. The 8-Axe Master was a solitary expert who had been wandering around Devil Smoke Valley all year round. He was extremely powerful and had reached the peak of the 5th Void Realm. Moreover, his axe skills were extremely violent and he had created a 6th-level absolute art. He was only one person, but the pressure he brought was much stronger than the other camps. Therefore, there was no other expert who had reached the peak of the fifth void realm. Among the other three camps, one had two experts of the fifth void realm working together. One had one expert of the fifth void realm and one expert of the peak of the fourth void realm. The remaining three experts of the fourth void realm were all in the same camp, including Jian Wushuang and the others. There were a total of 12 experts present. Fortunately, the strongest among these people is only the expert of the peak of the fifth void realm, 8-Axe Master. There are no experts of the sixth void realm here. If the four of us work together, we can still have a chance, the Heavy Master said. This is the outer area of Devil Smoke Valley after all. It's already good enough to have experts of the peak of the fifth void realm. As for experts of the sixth void realm, almost all of them have gone to the depths of Devil Smoke Valley. Who would come to this outer area? The Saber Python Master said. You don't say. Not long ago we ran into one. It was the infamous God Fei Master, Heavy Master said. What? God Fei Master came to this outer region. Saber Python Master was shocked. That is indeed the case. Heavy Master and I were pursued by him. Fortunately, Blood Sword Master helped us to get out of the situation. Moreover, the place where he was pursuing us was nearby. We don't know if the appearance of this broken Paluo God part will attract him here, Purple Sound Master said. It shouldn't be. Heavy Master shook his head. Has the appearance of this Paluo God component caused too much of a commotion? The only ones who can discover it are the experts who just happen to pass by the Black Thunder Earth Pool. After these experts discover it, they will at most pass on the news to their own forces, but they will definitely not make this matter completely public. After all, they also want to snatch this Paluo God component. Naturally, they do not want too many people to know that this Paluo God component was born here. As for that God Fei Master, although it is true that he is extremely powerful, he is an expert who travels alone. Who would tell him the news of the appearance of the Paluo God parts here? As long as he doesn't happen to pass by this Black Thunder Pool, then he won't be able to participate in this battle. That makes sense. Purple Sound Master and Saber Python Master both nodded. At this moment, in the void beneath their feet, Paluo God trembled slightly. He was about to break free from the Black Thunder Pool. Paluo God's component is about to be born. Saber Python Master's eyes lit up. Everyone, be prepared to fight for it at any time, Heavy Master said. Once something happens to Paluo God's component, I'll immediately use my space-time domain to suppress them, Jian Wushuang said. With your space-time domain, Blood Sword Master, their speed will be greatly restricted. This will increase our chances, Heavy Master said. It was obvious that Jian Wushuang did not want to expose his name, so Heavy Master now called Jian Wushuang Blood Sword Master. Buzz! With a shrill cry, the Paluo God component, which was trapped in the Thunder Pool, finally broke free from the Thunder Pool. The aura of a universe true treasure instantly spread out. It's born. The eyes of the 12 great beings who had been waiting around all lit up. Attack! Snatch it! In an instant, each great being emitted a terrifying aura as they directly rushed toward the Paluo God part. 8-Axe Master, who was standing alone in the void realm like a statue, had already taken out his huge axe. In an instant, he turned into an ancient fierce beast and dashed out. The two experts of the 5 void realms who were standing together also rushed out at the same time. As for Jian Wushuang and the other 3, Saber Python Master, Heavy Master, and Purple Sound Master all rushed out at once. Jian Wushuang was the only one who did not rush out. Instead, he took out the golden sky painting banner and used the space-time domain. Buzz! The enormous space-time domain covered the area around the Paluo God component. In addition to Saber Python Master, Heavy Master, and Purple Sound Master, the other experts in the area were also affected. They were all slowed down by the enormous speed. A domain-type true treasure? No. This feeling should be a space-time true treasure. The great beings who were trapped in the space-time domain had a change of expression. However, at this moment, without any warning, a large amount of golden light suddenly shone. With 8-Axe Master as the core, the crimson gold flowing light surged like a raging ocean. In the next moment, it filled the entire battlefield. Within the crimson gold flowing light, 8X Master seemed to have become the ruler. Even Jian Wushuang's spacetime domain was greatly impacted by the crimson gold flowing light. A domain-type true treasure. This is a domain-type universe true treasure. It's 8X Master. Damn it! We're both trapped in the spacetime domain at the same time, so we're much slower than the golden light. But 8X Master used the golden light to block the spacetime domain, so his speed isn't affected at all. Quick! Block 8X Master. The great beings who were eager to get the Polyo God parts started to get anxious. 8X Master was originally the strongest among them, and his speed was also the fastest. Now that 8X Master's speed was not being suppressed, he could be the first to appear in front of the Polyo God parts and take them away. Once the Polyo God parts fell into 8X Master's hands, if they wanted to fight for them again, there would be no chance at all. After all, if they wanted to fight for the treasure from 8X Master, they would definitely have to think of a way to kill 8X Master. But who here had the strength to do so? Even if everyone joined hands, they probably would not be able to do anything to 8X Master, right? Thus, everyone understood that they absolutely could not let the Polyo God component fall into 8X Master's hands. Immediately, the Principal's Masters who were still some distance away from the Polyo God component all made their moves. All of them made their moves almost at the same time. Even though they were some distance away, the 8X Masters did not dare to ignore their attacks. However, facing the attacks of the surrounding people, 8X Master merely smiled coldly. The huge axe in his hand suddenly drew a beautiful scar in the air, forming a huge axe shadow. It swept away the attacks of these Principal's Masters with ease. So powerful! We have so many people working together, yet he managed to sweep them away with a single axe? He's too powerful. We can't stop him at all. The expressions of these Principal's Masters were extremely unsightly. Their attacks were unable to stop 8X Master, and they were not even able to obstruct 8X Master. They could only watch as 8X Master approached the Polyo God component. 8X Master appeared in front of the Polyo God component, and he waved his hand. He was about to put the Polyo God component into his interspatial ring. The surrounding Principal's Masters all had helpless expressions on their faces. But at this moment, a scarlet sword light suddenly lit up beside 8X Master. What? 8X Master's expression suddenly changed. This sword light had appeared too suddenly, and its angle was extremely tricky. As soon as it lit up, it stabbed toward his throat. Most importantly, that sword light was too fast, so fast that he could not swing his huge axe in time to block it. Moreover, this sword light contained an astonishing piercing power, which made his heart palpitate. He did not dare to face it with his godly body. There was nothing he could do. 8X Master could not be bothered to retrieve the Polyo God component anymore. Instead, he retreated hastily. With this rapid retreat, he once again widened the distance between him and the Polyo God component. At this moment, a figure appeared beside the Polyo God component like a ghost. Then, with a simple wave of his hand, the Polyo God component had already fallen into his hands. This sudden change caused the surrounding Principal's Masters to be somewhat stupefied. They had originally thought that no one present could stop 8X Master, and that the Polyo God component was bound to fall into 8X Master's hands. Unexpectedly, at this crucial moment, someone had suddenly appeared beside 8X Master. Furthermore, he had forced 8X Master to retreat, and he had obtained the Polyo God component. The three most shocked ones were the Heavy Master, Saber Python Master, and Purple Sound Master. They had clearly seen the other party's appearance. It was Jian Wushuang who had cast the spacetime domain behind them. It's Blood Sword Master. It's him. Isn't he behind us? When did he run to the Polyo God component? The Heavy Master, the Saber Python Master, and the Purple Sound Master could not help but turn around. They found that the void where Jian Wushuang was previously was empty. However, when did he leave for the Polyo God component, no one noticed him at all. The shadowless escape art at the exceptional level is very useful. Cultivators below the 6 realms of the void, as long as they are not particularly good at soul perception, can hardly detect my presence. Jian Wushuang said with a smile. He had learned the shadowless escape art in the temporal temple. It originated from the Blood Sword Master, a very terrifying principles master in the temporal temple. When the shadowless escape art was used, it could disappear without a trace. It could hide from the soul detection of a cultivator. Jian Wushuang had mastered the shadowless escape art long ago. He had not relied on it to kill or escape from enemies during battles on more than one occasion. For example, when he was adventuring in the Blood Wave realm, he had relied on the shadowless escape art. At that time, he was recognized as the best assassin at the saint level in the divine beginning realm. However, at that time, his mastery of the shadowless escape art was still in the initial stage. Even if he had mastered it later, he could only hide it from the soul detection of some principles masters of the 3 or 4 void realms. However, not long ago, during the 600 years that Jian Wushuang had been in seclusion in the Star Palace, he had finally mastered the shadowless escape art to the perfect level. The shadowless escape skill at the perfection level was not much weaker than the Bloodsword Master at his peak. Under normal circumstances, only principles masters above the 6th realm of the Void Realm could sense it, or experts at the 5th realm of the Void Realm, who were particularly good at soul perception, could sense it. Just now, when everyone was fighting for the Paleo-God component, Jian Wushuang had actually moved. However, he had used the shadow escape skill to move forward, so no one noticed his existence. It was not until 8-Axe Master approached the Paleo-God component and was about to take it into his hands that he made his move decisively. He forced 8-Axe Master back and took the Paleo-God component himself. "I'm sorry to have wasted your time." Jian Wushuang looked at everyone with a smile. However, except for Heavy Master and the other 2 from the same camp, the other principles masters all looked at him with fierce eyes. Especially 8-Axe Master, whose eyes were full of killing intent. "How dare you snatch food from my mouth? You're courting death," 8-Axe Master growled. His aura suddenly soared, and in an instant, he charged toward Jian Wushuang like a furious beast. Wherever he passed, the air was forced back by the overwhelming killing intent. "Blood Sword Master, be careful," Heavy Master shouted. "Let's go." The principles masters from the other camps would not give up just like that. They charged forward one by one, but their target was no longer 8-Axe Master, it was Jian Wushuang instead. "Quick, stop them," Saber Python Master growled. In an instant, he joined hands with Heavy Master and Purple Sound Master to find a way to stop the principles masters around them. With their strength, with the help of the space-time domain, more than half of the principles masters around them were successfully stopped by them. However, 3 people still broke through their obstruction, especially 8-Axe Master, who was in a rage. No one could stop him. Seeing 8-Axe Master and the other 2 principles masters who had reached the 5th realm of the void, Jian Wushuang just smiled faintly and disappeared in front of everyone. Disappeared. Damn it! Where did he go? The 2 principles masters of the 5th realm of the void looked gloomy. They scanned the surroundings with their soul power, but they could not find any trace of Jian Wushuang. As for 8-Axe Master, he also released his soul power trying to find Jian Wushuang, but he found nothing. Can he hide his special secret skill from soul detection? 8-Axe Master's face darkened. No, it's impossible for his secret skill to hide from the cultivator's cultivation detection. The reason why I can't find him is because my soul perception is not strong enough. In that case, 8-Axe Master was stunned. He flipped his hand and took out a purple bead. "Is that a soul golden pearl?" The principles masters around them all noticed what 8-Axe Master had brought out. "It's a soul golden pearl, and it's of an extremely high level. Its value is also extremely shocking, and it's equivalent to 1/3 of a low-level universe true treasure. Under normal circumstances, a soul golden pearl of this level would be used to swallow and strengthen one's soul resistance when it's attacked by the soul. Of course, after a cultivator consumes it, his soul power will soar, and his soul sensing ability will also be greatly enhanced," Heavy Master said seriously. 8-Axe Master is really generous. Purple Sound Master sighed. On the battlefield, everyone saw 8-Axe Master take out the purple pearl and swallow it without thinking. After swallowing it, his soul power and soul perception ability increased greatly. In a short time, His soul perception ability would not be weaker than an ordinary expert of the 6 void realms. With the help of the soul gold pearl, 8-Axe Master immediately found Jian Wushuang. I found him, he's there. 8-Axe Master's eyes were cold, but he appeared in an empty void. This void was also in the battlefield. It seemed empty, but 8-Axe Master knew that Jian Wushuang was hiding here. Die! 8-Axe Master shouted and swung his giant axe at lightning speed. The void was almost split open, and Jian Wushuang's figure appeared in the void and retreated rapidly. You found my position by consuming treasures. 8-Axe Master, you're quite skilled. Jian Wushuang smiled. Boy, hand over the Poluo God component and I'll let you go. Otherwise, 8-Axe Master stared at Jian Wushuang with a cold gaze. Otherwise what? Jian Wushuang smiled indifferently. 8-Axe Master, you think too highly of yourself. I just didn't want to go through so much trouble, so I used my escape art to leave. Do you really think I won't dare to fight you face to face? Huh. 8-Axe Master frowned and stared at Jian Wushuang. 8-Axe Master, since you've found me, I'll play with you. Jian Wushuang had already pulled out the Blood Mountain sword behind him and looked at 8-Axe Master with interest. Very good. 8-Axe Master's voice was cold, and his body suddenly rushed out. This time, Jian Wushuang did not have the slightest intention of retreating. He also went up to meet him. Just as he was about to fight with the 8-Axe Master, Jian Wushuang activated his life divine power. Of course, he only activated his life divine power. As for the heaven-cleaving skill, he was not in a hurry to use it. However, even though he only activated his life divine power, the power that Jian Wushuang unleashed was not weaker than that of the Void 5-Realm Principles Master. In addition, the first stage of the Blood Crystal Armor magnified his advantage in basic divine power. In terms of power, he was not much weaker than 8-Axe Master. 8-Axe Master, take this. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly, but the Blood Mountain sword in his hand slashed out rapidly. A huge blood-red sword light with a violent aura suddenly swept out. It was the Peerless Sword Manual. Xianxia. Get lost. 8-Axe Master growled in a low voice, and the huge axe in his hand swept out in a mighty and straight manner. He did not hold back in this axe attack, and he did his best. In his eyes, he was an expert at the peak of the 5th level of the Void, yet he was facing this Principles Master who had no reputation before and whose aura was extremely ordinary. He could definitely crush him. However, the moment the axe shadow he swung out truly collided with the blood-colored sword light, the 8-Axe Master was stunned. The blood-red sword light contained an extremely violent power. When it collided with the axe shadow, it was shattered, and even the giant axe in his hand was slightly changed. He staggered backward. This is a level 6 absolute art? 8-Axe Master was still a little stunned. However, Jian Wushuang had already rushed out like a ghost in front of him. Whoosh! Another sword attack. This sword attack emitted a terrifying tearing force and directly tore apart the void. It was the Peerless Sword technique, Star Dream. 8-Axe Master subconsciously raised his hand to block the sword attack, but the tearing force contained in the sword technique made him stagger again. How can this strength be so strong? 8-Axe Master was extremely surprised. However, Jian Wushuang began to perform his swordsmanship. Whoosh! 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 One after another, sword lights were displayed from Jian Wushuang's hands. Some of these swordsmanship were swift and violent, some were strange and enchanting, and some were terrifying and oppressive. Most importantly, each of these swordsmanship was extremely powerful. Every sword attack forced 8-Axe Master to defend with all his strength, but it was only a passive defense. He could not find a chance to fight back. He's too strong. His strength is no weaker than mine, and his swordsmanship is too terrifying. The 8-Axe Master was a little terrified of Jian Wushuang's swordsmanship. Because Jian Wushuang had fought with him many times, he had displayed many swordsmanship, and each of these swordsmanship was a 6th-level absolute art. It should be known that a 6th-level absolute art was compatible with an expert in the 6 realms of the Void. Although the 5 realms of the Void could create 6th-level absolute arts like him, it was very difficult to create a 6th-level absolute art. However, Jian Wushuang had not only created a 6th-level absolute art, but he had also created more than just one sword move. Many of his sword moves had reached the 6th-level absolute art level. What he did not know was that although Jian Wushuang was not a true principles master in terms of real strength, he was definitely not weaker than a principles master of the 6th realm of the void. Most importantly, his talent in sword principle was extremely high. Along the way, he received many incredible opportunities. For example, 600 years ago, the Heaven Ancestor, a ruler-level expert, gave him a demonstration of the axe skill. The axe skill had greatly affected him. He often came into contact with experts of the 6 void realms and even fought with them. Naturally, his swordsmanship had improved greatly. Up until now, his 7 sword moves of the Wushuang Sword Manual had all reached the level of a 6th rank absolute art. All have been elevated to the level of level 6. Under the premise that their powers were about the same, Jian Wushuang had the absolute advantage in the competition of strength and ultimate skills. Don't get cocky, kid. After being suppressed by Jian Wushuang's swordsmanship for a long time, 8 Axe Master was finally enraged. A golden lightning suddenly flashed from his body, and a terrifying aura burst out from his body. His eyes turned scarlet. Are you going to use your killer move? Jian Wushuang smiled slightly. It's good that I'm tired of playing. It's time to end it. Jian Wushuang's expression turned cold, and a shocking destructive will suddenly rose up. I won't stop until I die. Whoosh! The sword was instantly slashed out. The moment the sword was slashed out, the shocking destructive will also immediately rose to the extreme. The destructive will, filled with hatred and endless destruction, directly covered 8 Axe Master. 8 Axe Master had also displayed his strongest skill. The giant axe in his hand seemed to cover the void and oppress the whole area. However, the mighty shadow of the axe, after it collided with Jian Wushuang's sword light, which was determined to die. Clang! With a crisp sound, 8 Axe Master's body slightly sank. The light in the axe shadow immediately dimmed, and his move was instantly disintegrated. However, this was only the beginning. After destroying his axe shadow, the astonishing sword skill with a terrifying destructive will came crushing toward his divine body again. A majestic power directly hit 8 Axe Master's divine body. So, the 8 Axe Master was unable to control his godly body after being struck by this power. His entire body suddenly fell downwards like a cannonball. One had to know that this place was in the Black Thunder Pool. The ground of the Black Thunder Pool was covered with black divine lightning. The power of those black divine lightning was extremely tyrannical. Ordinary principles masters would not dare to step into it. However, because of the impact of the power, 8 Axe Master's entire body was smashed into the thunder pool below. The thunder pool instantly surged with a large amount of black divine lightning, crazily covering 8 Axe Master like a wave. This scene caused the surrounding principles masters to be shocked. 8 Axe Master was actually struck into the thunder pool? Is 8 Axe Master dead? This man defeated 8 Axe Master and hacked 8 Axe Master into the thunder pool? The principles masters widened their eyes and looked at the thunder pool below, exclaiming in disbelief. However, Jian Wushuang ignored them. After hacking 8 Axe Master into the thunder pool below, he withdrew his Blood Mountain sword and performed shadowless escape art. 8 Axe Master was still in the thunder pool. As soon as Jian Wushuang performed shadowless escape art, the surrounding people did not know where he was. Naturally, they could not obstruct him. He directly passed through the battlefield. He walked out of the Black Thunder Pool. At the same time, he sent a message to Heavy Master to ask them to leave. Heavy Master, Saber Python Master, and Purple Sound Master immediately retreated. The few principles masters did not stop them. In the blink of an eye, Jian Wushuang and the others had disappeared from everyone's sight. After Jian Wushuang and the others left, the thunder pool below suddenly rumbled. Then, 8 Axe Master, who was emitting a terrifying murderous aura, struggled out of the thunder pool. The black divine thunder in the Black Thunder Pool was powerful and posed a great threat to ordinary principles masters. However, 8 Axe Master was an expert at the peak of the 5th Void Realm, and he was wearing armor at the level of an elementary universe supreme treasure. He could barely resist the erosion of the divine thunder. He had been trapped in the thunder pool for only a moment, so his life was not in any danger. However, he had consumed a lot of divine power. After he got out of the thunder pool, he immediately looked around with his ruthless eyes, but he did not see Jian Wushuang again. "Where are they?" Eight-Axe Master shouted in a low voice. "Eight-Axe Master, the people from Star Palace, including the one who fought with you, have left," an expert of the Fifth Void Realm said. "Left?" Eight-Axe Master's face darkened slightly, but he could only shake his head helplessly. Jian Wushuang had already obtained the Polyuogod component, and then he fought with him and defeated him. At this point, Jian Wushuang would naturally choose to leave. Moreover, even if Jian Wushuang had not left, what could he do? To snatch the Polyuogod component from Jian Wushuang again? Was that possible? Jian Wushuang had already proven his strength in the battle just now. Even if he did not use the shadowless escape art to fight him head-on, he would definitely crush him. If the Polyuogod component fell into the hands of such an expert, he, Eight-Axe Master, was completely helpless. "Do you know the name of the person just now?" Eight-Axe Master asked. "I don't know. That person is very unfamiliar. He must have just entered the universe battlefield not long ago, so we don't know him. However, he is with Saber Python Master and Heavy Master. He is most likely from Star Palace," the expert of the 5 Void Realms said. "Oh right. I heard Heavy Master call him Bloodsword Master just now," a Void 4th level Principles Master beside him said. "Blood Sword Master?" Eight-Axe Master's eyes narrowed slightly before he nodded. Blood Sword Master should be his title. Furthermore, his sword techniques are strange and terrifying. When he executed his sword techniques, he left behind streaks of blood-colored sword light in the void. He indeed deserves this title. Eight-Axe Master, you have just fought head-on with Blood Sword Master. What do you think of his strength? Asked the Principles Master of the 5th level of the Void Realm. There were dozens of astral worlds around the 3 universe battlefields, and there were countless forces of all sizes. There were countless great beings, and these great beings were all adventuring in the 3 battlefields. Naturally, they had to know themselves and their enemies well. For example, if an extremely powerful expert appeared in the 3 battlefields, it would not take long for everyone to know his name and information. It was because of this information the various forces did not deliberately hide it, and most of them were willing to share it. Their encounter with Jian Wushuang this time also showed that Jian Wushuang's strength was extraordinary. However, only the Eight-Axe Master, who had really fought with Jian Wushuang, knew what level Jian Wushuang's strength was at. Therefore, the surrounding Principles Masters all wanted to know Jian Wushuang's specific battle strength level from the Eight-Axe Master. They all wanted to know the level of Jian Wushuang's battle strength from the Eight-Axe Master, so that they could be prepared when they fought with Jian Wushuang in the future. After a moment of silence, the Eight-Axe Master spoke directly. Blood Sword Master's aura alone is not very strong among Principles Masters, but his battle strength is extremely terrifying. The power he possesses is not much weaker than mine and has reached the peak of the 5th Void Realm. However, this is not the most important thing. The most important thing is his unique skill, his sword skill. His swordsmanship is too terrifying. When he fought with me, I saw that among the swordsmanship that he displayed, there were at least 5 sword techniques that had reached the level of a 6th-tier ultimate art. Especially that last sword technique that he displayed. If I'm not mistaken, that should already be a peak 6th-tier ultimate art. An absolute art at the peak of level 6? The surrounding Principles Masters were all shocked. If Jian Wushuang's creation of several initial level 6 absolute arts was only a surprise to them, then the creation of an absolute art at the peak of level 6 was enough to completely shock them. This was because under normal circumstances, a peak stage 6 absolute art could not be created without the battle strength of the 6th realm of the void. The power that Jian Wushuang displayed just now was only at the peak stage of the 5th realm of the void, but with this absolute art, he was probably not much weaker than an ordinary expert of the 6th realm of the void. This Blood Sword Master's swordsmanship is really terrifying, and his other methods are also very brilliant. For example, the time and space domain that he displayed just now, as well as his strange escape skill, are even more amazing. With all these methods combined, His threat to ordinary principles masters is probably no less than that of an ordinary expert of the sixth realm of the void, 8-Axe Master continued. However, the strange thing is that Blood Sword Master's offensive magic weapon doesn't seem to be very high level. It's not even a universe true treasure. If he can get an offensive magic weapon at the level of a universe true treasure, his combat power might be able to improve even further. Hearing 8-Axe Master's words, the Principles Masters all secretly drew in a breath of cold air. In their eyes, Jian Wushuang was already terrifying enough. Would he not be even more terrifying if he took another step forward? 8-Axe Master, thank you for informing us. The Void 5 Realm Principles Master cupped his hands and then turned to leave with the people around him. The other Principles Masters knew that there was nothing to fight for, so they naturally left one after another. In the end, only 8-Axe Master was still standing there. Blood Sword Master. 8-Axe Master's face was solemn, but his mind was full of thoughts. I don't know why, but I always feel that he didn't use his full strength when he fought with me. Even when he used his ultimate skill at the peak of stage 6, I still feel that he didn't use his full strength. What's going on? 8-Axe Master was a little confused. In fact, his intuition was right. Although Jian Wushuang had shown many skills in the fight, his real battle strength had not been fully unleashed. He had never used the heaven-cleaving skill alone. Once he used the heaven-cleaving skill, it was equivalent to an additional portion of his willpower. His strength could crush 8-Axe Master in an instant. However, Jian Wushuang did not do that. Instead, he deliberately reserved his strength. The reason why he fought head-on with the 8-Axe Master was that Jian Wushuang wanted to use the 8-Axe Master to train his swordsmanship as much as possible. After all, he had already taught an absolute art at the peak of level 6. Although he had gained enlightenment from the Heaven Ancestor's axe and mastered the destructive will, he had created this absolute art. It meant that he had reached a new level in swordsmanship. After reaching this level, he could also improve the 7 sword moves in the Peerless Sword Manual. Although these sword moves could not reach the peak of the 6th level like the fight to the death, they could still be improved to the advanced level of the 6th level. Since he wanted to improve, he naturally needed to spend time and practice. The 8-Axe Master was not weak, so his battle with him was undoubtedly a form of training for Jian Wushuang. Unfortunately, the 8-Axe Master definitely did not know about this. In the void outside the Black Thunder Pool, Jian Wushuang, the Heavy Master, the Saber Python Master, and the Purple Sound Master gathered together again. However, at this moment the Heavy Master, the Saber Python Master, and the Purple Sound Master looked at Jian Wushuang with a hint of shock. After all, they had seen with their own eyes that Jian Wushuang had snatched the Polyogod component from 8-Axe Master. Moreover, Jian Wushuang had fought with 8-Axe Master head-on, and most importantly, he had crushed 8-Axe Master. 8-Axe Master was an expert at the peak of the 5th Void Realm. Moreover, he was very famous. How strong was Jian Wushuang to be able to crush such an expert head-on? Heavy. Didn't you say that Blood Sword Master had just become a Principles Master not long ago? Where did you get the news? Purple Sound Master looked at Heavy Master with some resentment. Just broke through? Are you kidding me? Blood Sword Master's strength is not much weaker than an expert at the 6th Void Realm. How could he have just broken through? Saber Python Master said directly. Heavy Master was at a loss for words. 600 years ago, he had indeed seen that Jian Wushuang was only at the Immortal Saint Realm, but the battle strength that Jian Wushuang displayed today, it was definitely not something that a person who had just broken through to become a Principles Master could possess. Is it really as Marquis Duanyu said, that when Heavenly Sword Marquis was at the Immortal Saint Realm, his strength was no less than mine? Heavy Master muttered in his heart. Jian Wushuang, who was standing next to the three of them, saw this scene and smiled. There's no point in talking about these things. All I need to do is get my hands on the Polyogod component. Yes, the Heavy Master nodded, but he was sure that he was looking at Jian Wushuang in a completely different way now. In this world, no matter where they went, the experts would always be respected. These cultivators also respected the experts in their hearts. Previously, although the Heavy Master no longer looked down on Jian Wushuang, and his relationship with Jian Wushuang had eased, It was mainly because of Jian Wushuang's life-saving means and because Jian Wushuang had saved him. Moreover, he was able to escape from the hands of God Fei safely. It could be said that the heavy master had only been grateful to Jian Wushuang before, but he did not have any respect for him. However, it was different now. The heavy master was completely in awe of Jian Wushuang now because he knew that Jian Wushuang was much stronger than him. It was not only him but also Saber Python Master and Purple Sound Master. Blood Sword Master, congratulations. That Poluo God component is a good thing. Saber Python Master sighed softly. It is indeed a good item. However, the Poluo God component was obtained by the four of us together. Although I put in a little more effort, I can't monopolize it. So, let's discuss how to distribute it, Jian Wushuang said. Upon hearing Jian Wushuang's words, Saber Python Master, Heavy Master, and Purple Sound Master were delighted. Of course, they were full of desire for the Poluo God parts. However, because of Jian Wushuang's strength and because of his overwhelming strength, they had obtained the Poluo God parts in this competition. Therefore, if Jian Wushuang did not mention the distribution, they would definitely not mention it. But now that Jian Wushuang had taken the initiative to ask for it, they naturally wanted to share it. After all, they had contributed. Blood Sword Master, our Star Palace actually has some rules about the distribution of treasures, Heavy Master said. Oh, tell me about it. Jian Wushuang looked at him. First of all, the first expert who finds a true treasure and sends the news must take a share. Under normal circumstances, the first one to find a true treasure can take 10 to 20% of the share. Secondly, during the treasure competition, the rest of the share will be distributed according to each person's contribution, Heavy Master said. And this time, Saber Python Master was the first to see the Poluo God parts, and he passed the news to us. Only then could we rush over in time to fight for them. Saber Python Master would definitely get a share. In addition, during the fight, Saber Python Master had more or less put in some effort, so it shouldn't be too much to get a 20% share. As for Purple Sound Master and I, we only gave those cultivators some hindrance during the fight. The others basically didn't do anything. In the end, it was almost all thanks to you, Blood Sword Master, that we were able to get the Poluo God parts. Therefore, it's already pretty good that Purple Sound Master and I can get a 10% share together. The remaining 70% will all go to you, Blood Sword Master. Blood Sword Master, Saber Python Master. What do you think of the distribution? Heavy Master knew his own limits. He and Purple Sound Master did not put in much effort in this competition. They would be satisfied if they could get 10% of the shares. I don't have any objections. After all, I didn't put in much effort in the competition. I only found the Poluo God component and passed the news to you. It's already a lot to get 20% of the shares. Blood Sword Master. What do you think? Saber Python Master looked at Jian Wushuang. In fact, the distribution was just their wishful thinking. They mainly had to see if Jian Wushuang would accept the distribution. If Jian Wushuang did not accept it, of course, they would make some concessions. However, Jian Wushuang gave a forthright smile and said, "As long as the three of you are satisfied, of course I won't have any objections." Well, it's settled then. Saber Python Master smiled. Blood Sword Master, you can send a message to Axe 1 Master. He controls the true treasure vault of our Star Palace. The experts of our Star Palace need his permission to exchange for treasures in the true treasure vault. At the same time, if we get any treasures, we can go to the true treasure vault and exchange them for contribution points. The Poluo God parts are useless to us. In the end, we must exchange them for contribution points. Ask him how many contribution points he will exchange for the Poluo God parts, and then we will distribute them according to our respective shares, Heavy Master said. Okay, I'll ask him now. Jian Wushuang did not hesitate and immediately sent a message to Axe 1 Master. My young friend, you said you got the Poluo God parts? Axe 1 Master could not help being surprised when he received Jian Wushuang's message. After all, the Poluo God component was quite famous in the universe battlefield, and its value was extremely precious. Jian Wushuang had obtained a Poluo God component not long after he set off for Devil Smoke Valley. It was truly a rare stroke of luck. Axe 1 Master, this polyogod component was obtained by me, Saber Python Master, and Heavy Master together. Now, I want to ask how many contribution points this polyogod component can be exchanged for in the true treasure vault, so that we can share it, Jian Wushuang said. Well, Axe 1 Master pondered for a moment, then he said, although there have been a lot of polyogod parts in the universe, not many of them have been spread in the universe battlefield. There are also people who are eager to get a polyogod part. As far as I know, 2 of them have obtained 2 polyogod parts and are eager to get a third one. Their prices are also very high, so the polyogod part is naturally very valuable. If you want to exchange it for contribution points, you can get 350 contribution points. 350 contribution points? Jian Wushuang nodded slightly and cut off the communication. Bloodsword Master, what do you think? The Heavy Master and the Saber Python Master looked at Jian Wushuang eagerly, especially the Saber Python Master. After all, he could get 20% of the total contribution points. In his opinion, 20% should be a significant amount of contribution points. Ladies and gentlemen, the contribution points given by Axe 1 Master are 350 points, Jian Wushuang said. 350 points? Upon hearing this number, Saber Python Master and Heavy Master were stunned at first, but then they were overjoyed. Haha, I knew it. The value of the polyogod parts is very shocking. It must be higher than the value of an ordinary advanced universe true treasure. Now it seems that it is true. Saber Python Master laughed loudly. 350 contribution points. That's close to the value of an advanced universe true treasure armor. Haha, we really made a profit this time, Heavy Master said with a laugh. Jian Wushuang had a strange look on his face. After all, he had never been to the Star Palace True Treasure Vault, so he had no idea about these contribution points. He had thought that 350 contribution points was not a big number. However, judging from the expressions of Saber Python Master and Heavy Master, the contribution points should be quite a lot. Gentlemen, are 350 contribution points a lot? Jian Wushuang asked. Yes, of course. Saber Python Master nodded. Bloodsword Master, let me put it this way. In the Star Palace's True Treasure Vault, ordinary offensive magic weapons at the level of Elementary Universe True Treasures can only be exchanged for 10 contribution points, while offensive magic weapons at the level of Advanced Universe True Treasures can only be exchanged for 100 contribution points. As for the polyogod parts, they are directly exchanged for 350 contribution points, which is equivalent to the price of 3.5 Advanced Universe True Treasures. That's right. Purple Sound Master and I can only get 10% of the total, but that's still 35 contribution points, which is equivalent to 3.5 low-level Universe True Treasure attack weapons. I exchanged my True Treasure armor for Purple Sound Master, and that True Treasure armor was only worth 42 contribution points. This time, Purple Sound and I came to Devil Smoke Valley to find a way to get more contribution points to exchange for the True Treasure armor, and now, almost all of them have returned. The point is, I didn't take any risks when I got these contribution points, Heavy Master said with a laugh. His face was full of surprise and joy. Purple Sound Master, who was beside him, was also smiling. This time, Heavy Master and Purple Sound Master had come out to explore together. They had come out to find a way to get enough contribution points, and then they would exchange Heavy Master's True Treasure armor back. But now, the 10% share of this polyogod component had almost all been returned. As for the Saber Python Master, he was even happier. He had received 20% of the share, which was 70 contribution points, which was a huge fortune for the Saber Python Master. Of course, they could not compare with Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang alone could receive 70% of the share, which was 245 contribution points, which was more than 2 Advanced Universe Supreme Treasures. The polyogod part is in my hands now, but I don't have any contribution points. I can only give you the contribution points when I return to the Star Palace and go to the Supreme Treasure Vault to exchange for it. But the problem is that I just came out of the Star Palace and don't want to go back immediately, Jian Wushuang suddenly said. That's okay. Purple Sound Master and I just came out of the Star Palace and didn't expect to go back so soon. You can give us the contribution points later when you return to the Star Palace. What about you, Saber Python Master? Heavy Master looked at Saber Python Master. I'll return to Star Palace soon, but I'm not in a hurry for the contribution points. I can wait in Star Palace for a while, but how long do you plan to stay in Devil Smoke Valley? Saber Python Master asked. I think I'll stay in the outer area of Devil Smoke Valley for now. After a while, I'll go to the core area of Devil Smoke Valley. I'll definitely go back to Star Palace before entering the core area, Jian Wushuang said. Bloodsword Master, are you going to explore the core area of Devil Smoke Valley? Heavy Master looked at Jian Wushuang in surprise, but he immediately understood. That's right. With your strength, you can go there. However, there are many experts in the core area of Devil Smoke Valley, which is much more dangerous than the outer area. You have to be careful. Of course. Jian Wushuang smiled. In that case, I'll go back to Star Palace and wait for 100 or 200 years. When you return to Star Palace, you can send me a message, Bloodsword Master, Saber Python Master said. No problem. Jian Wushuang nodded. Since it's a deal, let's part ways again. Goodbye, both of you, Heavy Master said, and then left with Purple Sound Master. Saber Python Master cupped his hands at Jian Wushuang and turned to leave. Jian Wushuang stood in the void and looked around calmly. Devil Smoke Valley, one of the 3 battlefields, not only contains countless opportunities and precious treasures like the Poluo God parts, but also countless experts from the surrounding star worlds. Although the experts in the outer area are not as good as those in the core area, they are enough to practice swordsmanship. My goal in Devil Smoke Valley is to reach a very deep area, the special place that the Shui Bei Master discovered. However, there are too many unknowns and it's too dangerous. Therefore, before venturing into that special place, I must improve my strength to the peak that I can temporarily reach. Naturally, I must improve my swordsmanship first. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands. He already had a detailed plan in his heart. He would stay in the outer area of Devil Smoke Valley first, not only to familiarize himself with the illusion in the battlefield, but also to hone his swordsmanship. After he had completely improved his swordsmanship and reached a new level of strength, he would set off for the core area of Devil Smoke Valley until he went to the special land discovered by Shui Bei. Let's begin. Jian Wushuang smiled and immediately flew to the side. Half a day later, 2 figures were flying side by side in the void outside Devil Smoke Valley. One of them was a white-haired skinny elder, and the other was a chubby bald youth. They walked together with a relaxed expression. It was normal. After all, they were both principles masters in the 5th realm of the void and had extraordinary life-saving skills. If they worked together and did not encounter a madman like God Fei Master in the outer area of Devil Smoke Valley, or they were seeking death by intruding into dangerous places. Otherwise, no one would be able to threaten them. However, halfway through, a figure suddenly blocked their way. The person who stood in their way was Jian Wushuang. Who are you? The white-haired skinny elder stared at Jian Wushuang coldly. Blood Sword, Jian Wushuang answered. Blood Sword. The white-haired skinny elder and the fat bald youth immediately recalled the information they had read about the experts, but they found that there was no Blood Sword Master. Blood Sword, you must be an expert who has just appeared, right? The chubby bald young man smiled. Do you know who we are? Of course I do. Master Yun and the Chubby Master are from the ancient Yuan star world. You two have always been famous in the universe battlefield, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. You know our names, but you still dare to stand in front of us. Boy, you have guts. The chubby bald young master flipped his hand, took out a fruit, and took a bite. He looked at Jian Wushuang with interest. It's because I know your names that I came here. If it were a weaker principles master, I wouldn't be interested. Jian Wushuang smiled and said, Let's cut the crap. Let's fight. Tisk tsk. It seems that you really don't care about us. The chubby master praised. He had casually thrown away the fruit in his hand. He knows their strength, but he still dares to come to us. He must have something to rely on. Fifth brother, don't be careless. Let's attack together. Master Yun said. Okay. The chubby master nodded. The next moment, the two attacked at the same time. Jian Wushuang immediately drew his Blood Mountain sword and went up to meet them. In an instant, a great battle broke out. Jian Wushuang fought against two masters at the same time, relying on his swordsmanship to fight against Master Yun and the chubby master. The battle was extremely fierce, but it did not last long. Soon, Jian Wushuang chose to retreat. "Thank you for your guidance. Goodbye." Jian Wushuang said goodbye and turned to leave. Master Yun and the chubby master had no intention of keeping Jian Wushuang. What was the blood sword master's intentions? The chubby master took out another fruit and ate it while watching Jian Wushuang leave. "I don't know. Although he came to us, it seems that he doesn't really want to be our enemy. After fighting with us, he just left. If I'm not mistaken, he just wants to fight with us," Master Yun said. "Purely to have a battle with us? Could it be another battle maniac?" Chubby master sighed. The three universe battlefields had gathered dozens of experts from the astral worlds around them. There were simply too many of them, and with so many experts, their temperaments were naturally different. Among them, there were some who liked to kill like God Fei Master. They almost killed anyone they saw, but at the same time, there were also some who liked to challenge others. They would take the initiative to fight with others to improve their strength. These crazy killers only pursued fierce battles, but they did not pursue killing. They were completely different from God Fei Master. In the eyes of Master Yun and the chubby master, Jian Wushuang was the second kind of crazy killer. It's better to meet a crazy killer than a crazy killer. Blood Sword Master is very strong. If he really kills us, we might not be his match, the chubby master said. Maybe. Master Yun nodded slightly. The two chatted for a while and then continued to move forward. From this day on, Jian Wushuang had indeed become a battle maniac. He roamed the outer area of Devil's Smoke Valley, looking for experts everywhere, and then took the initiative to fight with them. The opponents he found were usually experts of the Fifth Void Realm with some strength. Of course, he would not miss the chance to meet experts above the peak of the Fifth Void Realm. But no matter who he fought with, he was almost evenly matched. He did not have any advantage in a fight. He did not have any advantage in a fight with an ordinary expert of the Fifth Void Realm, but he did not have any disadvantage either. However, he was the same when he fought an expert at the peak of the Fifth Void Realm. The reason for this was that Jian Wushuang had deliberately reserved his strength from the beginning to the end. When he fought with these experts, he would try his best to control the power of his divine power and then try his best to hone his swordsmanship. He would rely on himself to gain an advantage. For example, when he fought with an ordinary expert of the Fifth Void Realm, Jian Wushuang basically did not even activate his life divine power. He would rely on his own will and the power of his basic divine power, which was equivalent to the power of the peak of the Fourth Void Realm. Then he would rely on his swordsmanship to fight fiercely with his opponent. No matter who he fought with, he would always control his power to be weaker than his opponent, and then try to maximize his advantage in swordsmanship. In this way, he could better hone his swordsmanship. Of course, his unbridled challenge naturally attracted the attention of all the great beings in the surrounding astral world. The name of Blood Sword Master gradually began to spread in the universe battlefield. Not long after, everyone who was adventuring in the universe battlefield knew of the existence of Blood Sword Master, and this Blood Sword Master was a madman who loved to fight. Recently, he had been crazily challenging experts from all over the outer area of Devil's Smoke Valley. As for the strength of Blood Sword Master, experts from all over the universe were unable to accurately gauge Jian Wushuang's strength. This was because all the experts who fought with him were basically evenly matched. They only knew that his swordsmanship was extremely good. However, Blood Sword Master had defeated 8-Axe Master in the fight for the Paleo God parts. Therefore, the Star World's definition of Jian Wushuang's strength was that he was a Principles Master at the peak of the 5 Void Realms. At the same time, he was very close to the level of the 6 Void Realms. As for his challenges in the outer area of Devil's Smoke Valley, anyone could see that he must have used these battles to hone his strength. Star Palace in the Secret Pavilion. Recently, the Blood Sword Master who has been wandering in the outer area of Devil's Smoke Valley seems to be quite famous, Marquis Donyu said. It's like this. Moreover, I heard that this Blood Sword Master is from our Star Palace. But when did our Star Palace have a Blood Sword Master? Seven Emotions Master looked puzzled. When Axe One Master heard this, he smiled. Blood Sword Master is indeed an expert from our Star Palace. He is the heavenly sword Marquis that Marquis Duan Yu brought back from the divine beginning realm. It's just that when he roamed Devil Smoke Valley, he deliberately used the alias Blood Sword. It's him. Seven Emotions Master had a strange expression. If I remember correctly, this heavenly Marquis sword should still be an immortal saint. He hasn't broken through to the Principal's Master, right? He hasn't broken through. X1 Master nodded. I've told you before that the heavenly sword Marquis isn't weak. Even if he ventured into Devil Smoke Valley alone, you don't have to worry. You didn't believe it, but now you believe it, right? A mere immortal saint actually defeated 8X Master and seized God's component. Moreover, he made such a name for himself in Devil Smoke Valley. This is a little too terrifying. Seven Emotions Master couldn't help but exclaim, "Oh right. Why did he crazily challenge all the experts in Devil Smoke Valley during this period of time? I've asked him about this before. He said that he was honing his sword techniques." Axe 1 Master smiled. "Oh right. Only a few of us know that Blood Sword Master is the immortal saint. Please don't leak this out." Of course, we're not stupid enough to leak this out. However, if he encounters an extremely powerful ruler-level expert while adventuring in Devil Smoke Valley, you'll be able to see through his level of strength. When that time comes, he'll definitely leak it out, and it'll definitely cause a sensation. Seven Emotions Master said. "We'll talk about it later, but for now, just keep it a secret," Axe 1 Master said. The surrounding people also nodded. As time passed, Jian Wushuang continued to wander around the outer area of Devil Smoke Valley, challenging experts from all over the place and honing his swordsmanship at the same time. In a flash, 50 years had passed. Outside Devil Smoke Valley, there was a vast black land. Wang. A faint aura of a true treasure surrounded it. In the center of this land, a long spear surrounded by a faint purple godly thunder slowly rose from the ground. This long spear, however, judging from its aura, was clearly a universe true treasure. Even though it was only a low-level universe true treasure, after it was born, there were still many great beings attracted to it. Right now, there were no less than 10 great beings standing around the long spear. Among them, there were 2 great beings at the 5th level of the Void Realm. They were all waiting for the long spear to be born completely, and then they would start fighting for it.